Chapter 713. Heroic Sword List. It was a list that counted the talented and powerful young geniuses in the past 500 years in the sword world. Although the people on the list were all people who had gradually revealed their talents in the past 500 years, every single existence on the list could be considered tyrant. No one dared to underestimate the peak-level spirit cultivator, and everyone's future was limitless. The moment Liu Xiao went up on stage, the uproar was endless. After 5 breaths of time, the people around the sword discourse arena were all talking about Liu Xiao, and their eyes were all focused on Liu Xiao. Li Mu, who was looking down on everyone just now, was immediately thrown to the back of everyone's minds. When Liu Xiao went up on stage, the desolator in his hand spun around his fingertips and looked at the person in front of him who was filled with killing intent. "I am Liu Xiao. Greetings, fellow swordsmen from the Dragon Sword sect." Liu Xiao cupped his fists. "Someone from the heroic sword list." Li Mu's eyes congealed. "When did you enter the rankings?" 12 years ago. It's been a while." Li Mu slowly raised the sword in his hand, and a bit of golden, profound qi overflowed from the blade. "Then let me experience just how powerful you people from the heroic sword list are. Come on." Fellow swordsman Li Mu is really impatient. "I saw that you had fought a few rounds in a row and were tired as well. You should take it easy and wait for you to recover some profound qi before fighting again. Otherwise, others will say that I, Liu Xiao, have won unfairly. If that's the case, then I will humiliate the 3 words heroic sword list." Liu Xiao said indifferently, his eyes filled with confidence. Hearing that, Li Mu flew into a rage. Those people from before were just casually killed. They did not consume much profound qi. In my current state, killing you is like crushing an ant. Don't think that I'm afraid of you, just because you're on the heroic sword list. Take this." With that said, Li Mu leaped up. The profound qi around his body erupted and pounced towards Liu Xiao. Liu Xiao stood at his original position, quietly watching Li Mu rush over. He was neither impatient nor flustered, and the smile on his face seemed to be telling everyone that everything was under his control. When he got close, suddenly he extended his hand and pointed. A sword beam exploded from his finger and covered Li Mu in a fan shape. Li Mu immediately dodged. Liu Xiao also moved at this time, but he did not attack. Instead, he chose to dodge. He retreated all the way to the edge of the sword discourse arena, then pinched the desolator in his hand and blew on it. Woo-woo, waves of mournful and faint flute sound spread out in all directions from the sword discourse arena. His voice floated out, and a circle of light green ripples floated out from the desolator, covering the entire sword discourse arena in the blink of an eye. Everyone was startled. The people from the Dragon Sword sect hurriedly looked towards Li Mu. When the ripples collided with Li Mu's body, they did not cause him any harm at all. Instead, they left a layer of light green aura on his body. This aura was like rain, staining his entire body. Li Mu panicked. He lowered his head and looked around. He didn't find any injuries, nor did he feel any discomfort. However, he didn't know what the aura was for, so he quickly retreated. Scared. LV Xiao sneered, put down the desolator, stretched out his hand, and hooked his finger at Li Mu, saying, "Come." Seeing the other party act so arrogantly, Li Mu felt a surge of anger. With a low growl, he raised his sword and charged forward. This was a provocation that could not be tolerated. The people below the stage could not help but shake their heads. Just based on their mentality, LV Xiao had the upper hand. Li Mu's profound qi was restless, like a surging flood. It rushed out from his body towards the sword in his hand. But the moment the profound qi left his body immediately exploded. His entire body flew backwards, falling to the ground and spitting out blood. The exclamations from below continued. Backlash of the profound qi. This seems to be the backlash of the profound qi. But why would there be a backlash from the profound qi? Could it be related to that strange aura? Li Mu stood up with difficulty. He looked down and discovered that there was a large hole in the palm of his hand that was holding onto the sword. The surrounding skin was cracked, and even the bones had loosened. What kind of move is this? Li Mu was completely shocked. A trace of killing intent flashed past LV Zhao's eyes, and he immediately rushed forward, a move that could decapitate you. As his voice fell, he held onto the desolator with both hands, and with a shake of his arm, he pulled out the sword from the desolator and slashed towards Li Mu. Li Mu was shocked. He immediately took out his magic treasure to block, but the moment the magic treasure appeared, just as the profound chi was about to activate the magic treasure, the magic treasure exploded again, and the hand holding the magic treasure was directly blown to pieces. He was affected by the explosion and retreated a few steps. It was already too late to defend. When he raised his head to look, Lu Zhao Shao Jian had already slashed over. The sharp and slender sword chopped down from the top of his head. He was cut in half and died a miserable death. Such a ruthless and strange technique caused the surroundings of the sword discourse arena to be filled with gasps. Strong. It was not just strong, it was so strong that it made one's hair stand on end. Li Mu, an expert from the sect of Dragon and Sword, was beaten to the point where he didn't even have the strength to retaliate. LV Xiao did not use any fancy moves, nor did he use any ink. He found an opportunity to kill. Long Guangzhong's expression was abnormally ugly. Looking at LV Xiao, who had a complacent smile on the sword discourse arena, killing intent gradually flashed in his eyes. Bastard, you actually dare to kill someone from my Dragon Sword sect. I think you don't want to live anymore. Avenge senior brother Li Mu. Kill this person. The disciples of the sect of Dragon and Sword were all enraged. They roared loudly, wishing that they could rush up and kill LV Xiao. A disciple was prepared to rush up to the sword discourse arena to fight with LV Xiao, but he was stopped by Long Guangzhong. Don't act recklessly, you are not his match, Long Guang said solemnly. But, quiet down, whoever dares to go up on stage, I will kill him. Long Guangzhong impatiently growled. When the people of the sect of Dragon and Sword heard this, they all lowered their heads. With the people of the sect of Dragon and Sword acting like this, the cloud Heavenly Palace's side would be bustling with noise and excitement. Huh? Why are the people of the sect of Dragon and Sword afraid? Aren't you all very capable? Go on. Aren't you invincible? How'd the Mu die? Ha. Are you guys not good enough? Do you only know how to talk? Ha. The sounds of ridicule did not stop, causing the people of the sect of Dragon and Sword to gnash their teeth in anger. LV Xiao easily killed Li Mu, stunning everyone. For a moment, the entire scene fell into silence, and no one dared to go up on stage. Suyin stared at Xiao Jian and thought for a while. Although he did not know what kind of chi it was, there was one thing he was sure of. Once he was tainted by this profound chi, he definitely could not let the profound chi in his body leave his body. It seemed that once his profound chi came into contact with this chi, it would immediately explode. It could be said that once this chi touched his body, his profound strength would be crippled. In a fight, there was no other way but to fight hand to hand. Suyin looked at the two men and one woman he met on the road, only to see them staring at LV Xiao with ugly expressions. No one dared to go up. After watching these matches, they should know the difference between them and these experts. May I ask if there are any other heroes willing to challenge me? The mighty Sword Valley Lord roared. The people below looked at each other, but no one came up. This made the mighty Sword Valley Lord feel rather awkward. Oh, no one is willing to spar with me? In this way, this clear sky holy robe can only belong to me. LV Xiao smiled, then turned and nodded towards the mighty Sword Valley Lord. An undetectable haze flashed past the eyes of the mighty Sword Valley Lord. He did not immediately hand over the clear sky holy robe to LV Xiao, but hesitated for a moment before shouting again. No one dares to fight? Then, are you all planning to give the clear sky holy robe to Lord LV? Suyin pressed down on the death sword beside him and slowly closed his eyes, not looking at the stage. However, after a while, a voice finally rang out from the crowd. The clear sky holy robe is a divine object. If we give it to a piece of trash, wouldn't it be a waste of this divine object? As the sound of his voice faded, a figure instantly appeared on the sword discourse arena. When the mighty Sword Valley Lord saw this, A look of joy appeared on his face. He immediately retreated from the sword discourse arena and left it to the two of them. LV Xiao looked at the person who had come. It was a man wearing a black Blade Master outfit and a bamboo hat. He then laughed lightly. "Who are you? You actually dare to challenge someone from the heroic sword list?" However, Lu Xiao, who is ranked 17th, is merely a rat in my eyes. Why wouldn't I dare to challenge him? After the man finished speaking, he took off his bamboo hat, revealing a face full of scars. He then took out a blue-edged sword from his waist, pointed the tip of the sword at LV Xiao, and snorted, "Have you heard of the Death Sword?" As the sound of his voice faded, the crowd below burst into an uproar. The originally quiet crowd immediately boiled over. "Death Sword?" LV Xiao's face immediately froze. "You are the 13th ranked Death Sword Mao Fei. At least you have some knowledge," Mao Fei said indifferently. "A mere existence ranked 17th. How can you dare to be so arrogant here? Today, I will teach you how to use the sword." As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately rushed over. LV Xiao looked a little flustered as he anxiously blocked Xiao Jin's attack. The difference in strength between Mao Fei and him wasn't that great, but the other party was ranked 4 places higher than him. He believed that his strength was inferior to the other parties, and an invisible pressure arose in his heart, causing him to involuntarily panic. The flying sword slashed at Lu Xiao. What was surprising was that the hand he used to hold the sword was not stable. Instead, it was constantly trembling and swaying. Was this a person who used a sword? Why couldn't he even hold his sword steadily? Many people who didn't understand Mao Fei had countless doubts in their hearts. What's wrong with this guy? Why is his hand always trembling? And the sword that he slashed out didn't have much power? Is he really someone on the heroic sword list? A puzzled look came out from the side of Su Yan. He looked over and saw 2 spirit cultivators conversing. Of course, he is someone on the heroic sword list. You don't understand Death Sword, nor do you know how exquisite his sword techniques are. The reason why he is called Death Sword is because of this. His arm trembles to make the sword tremble, and when the sword trembles, it will produce a strange sword cry. When the sword cry spreads through the air, it will drill into the ears of others, causing them to lose their hearing at first, and after a while, they will hallucinate. In the end, it will even cause their own brains to die. And when the sword touches the opponent, this strange power will become even stronger, which is why he is called the Death Sword. It is said that the Death Sword can easily defeat spirit beasts, and even the existence of the Spirit Emperor is not immune to such a terrifying sword technique. So that's how it is. The man nodded. Su Yan could not help but nod. The people on the heroic sword leaderboard were all extraordinary people. They were all geniuses with extraordinary talent and skills. If he could fight with these people, he would definitely benefit greatly. Su Yan's hand could not help but press down on the death sword beside him. Chapter 714. Clang, clang, clang. Pucci. The battle on the sword discourse arena was extremely intense. Lu Xiao was forced to retreat step by step, unable to retaliate. In less than a dozen breaths of time, he was forced to the edge of the sword discourse arena. At this moment, Lu Xiao was in a sorry state. His entire body was covered in sword scars, and blood dyed his robes red. The profound qi on his body was also in a mess, looking extremely miserable. He held Xiao Jin and gasped for breath as he stared at the person in front of him. He felt a splitting headache and could not even stand steadily. Even his vision had started to blur. He had already been severely corroded by the Death Sword. Big fish eat small fish, and small fish eat shrimps. LV Xiao easily defeated Li Mu, but against the Death Sword and Flying Mortar, he was another Li Mu. I never thought that the people on the heroic sword list would have similar rankings, but their strength would be like heaven and earth. I wonder how strong the number 1 expert is. He must be an expert whose fighting strength is ranked in the millions. The people below were all discussing. Everyone was almost certain that Lu Xiao would lose, and that Mo Fei would win this match without any suspense. Su Yan stared at the sword discourse arena. There was not much meaning to it. In this kind of situation, If Lu Xiao was still unable to maintain his state of mind and stabilize his state of mind, then he would definitely lose. Even if he was given the strongest magic treasure in the world, he would still not be able to defeat Mo Fei. There was no other reason. In terms of momentum and mentality, Lu Xiao had suffered a crushing defeat. Just like Lu Xiao and Li Mu before, Lu Xiao was stronger than Li Mu, so he was extremely confident that he could easily kill him. However, when Mao Fei announced his name and ranking on the heroic sword list, Lu Xiao panicked. His confidence was shaken, and with Mao Fei's strength, Lu Xiao's mentality gradually collapsed, and the battle turned into this. In a swordsman competition, one's mentality was especially important. Often, a strong heart could give a swordsman unexpected help. This was also a part of one's strength. Crash! At this moment, a light sound rang out. Following that, a flower bloomed in the crowd. Su Yun looked over, only to see Qin Hong San, who was standing in the crowd, suddenly open his red umbrella. The surrounding people felt that it was strange, but they saw her expressionlessly looking at the people on the sword discourse arena, her hands tightly gripping onto the handle of the umbrella. Seeing that, Su Yun's eyes congealed. Could it be this Qin Hong San was going to make his move again? However, under the watchful eyes of so many experts, she still dared to act recklessly. This place couldn't be compared to the tavern. The people around the tavern were all spectators, but not only were there spectators here, there were also countless experts. Once they were discovered, only death and destruction awaited them. "Hey, what are you doing?" Suddenly, an angry shout rang out from the crowd. The people around were confused. Looking in the direction of the voice, they saw a female cultivator in a green shirt turning around and glaring at a male cultivator behind her. The male cultivator's face was full of doubt and confusion. He looked at her in confusion. "What do you mean? What happened to me? You still won't admit it? You know very well what you just did." The female spirit cultivator revealed a furious expression, her face flushed red. The bystanders were especially puzzled, but some of the more imaginative ones were already letting their imaginations run wild. What else could happen when they saw a woman getting angry at a man? Clang! At this moment, an even more shocking scene occurred. The female cultivator suddenly pulled out the sword from her waist and slashed at the male cultivator without a care for anything else. Clearly, he had flown into a rage out of humiliation. The male cultivator's reaction wasn't slow either. He quickly dodged the female cultivator's sword like a rabbit. "Don't even think about leaving." The female cultivator flew into a rage out of humiliation. She activated the profound strength and slashed randomly, causing sword chi to shoot out in all directions. The crowd immediately became restless. What happened? The head of the mighty Sword Valley looked towards the chaotic crowd and quickly shouted, "Quickly go take a look." "Yes, Valley Master." The people of the mighty Sword Valley shouted and rushed over. They split into two groups and drove the crowd away. Then, one of them subdued the female cultivator and the other subdued the male cultivator. "Everyone stop." The mighty Sword Valley Lord walked over, looked at the angry female cultivator, and asked, "You two, what happened? Why are you causing trouble in the mighty Sword Valley? This person doesn't know shame. He actually dares to harass me." The female cultivator said angrily, "How can you slander me?" The male cultivator immediately became anxious. "We cultivators restrain our desires and cultivate our character. How can we do such a despicable thing? No matter how hungry and thirsty I am, how can I act recklessly in a place like this? This sword friend is right. We are not ordinary people. Even if this sword friend admires you, he would definitely not do such a thing that even mortals would not care about. This sword friend, are you mistaken and wrongly accused?" The mighty Sword Valley Lord said in a deep voice. "This time, the hero arena has invited all the famous sages and great existences. We are not ordinary people. Even if this sword friend admires you, he would definitely not do such a thing that mortals would not care about." I... The female cultivator opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. "Everyone, this is the mighty Sword Valley. I hope that everyone can give this old man some face and stop arguing. This matter is over. If everyone continues to mess around, this old man can only ask everyone to leave. The head of the mighty Sword Valley shouted. How could he give these two face when they were messing around here? What's more, they were just two nameless rogue cultivators. If it wasn't for the fact that everyone was watching, he really would have chased the two of them away. When the two of them heard this, they didn't dare to make a sound. The head swordsman of the mighty Sword Valley left straight away. Order was gradually restored to the scene. But at this moment, waves of uproar and exclamations sounded out from the surroundings of the Sword Discourse Arena. The head of the mighty Sword Valley tensed up. He anxiously looked towards the Sword Discourse Arena, only to see that the outcome of the battle had already been decided. Xiao Jian, who was retreating step by step, was in a sorry state, had actually chopped off the head of the deaf sword. Lu Xiao was gasping for breath, holding the sword in one hand and the head in the other. His face was extremely pale, and there was a deep sense of fear in the depths of his eyes. But very quickly, this fear turned into a hysterical fanaticism. He laughed hysterically. Many people were stunned. All of a sudden, how did Lu Xiao, who was at a disadvantage, kill his opponent? Everyone's attention was focused on the commotion here, but they ignored the competition. However, there was one person whose gaze had always been on the Sword Discourse Arena, and that was Su Yun, who was in the corner. Qin Hongfan was already prepared to make his move. The commotion of the others could not attract his attention at all. And when everyone's attention was attracted by the female cultivator, Qin Hongfan made his move. All of the qi on Lu Xiao's body was instantly eliminated, and for some reason, he was struck by a sneak attack. His hand that was holding the sword was suddenly cut off, almost without any warning, and many people thought that it was Lu Xiao who did it. But Su Yun firmly believed that this was definitely Qin Hongfan's help. Lu Xiao had long since lost the ability to fight against Mao Fei, much less kill him in such a short period of time. How could this be? Lu Xiao actually killed Mao Fei. That's impossible. What happened just now? Puzzled and doubtful voices rose and fell from the crowd. Although many people were puzzled, the truth was right in front of their eyes. No one doubted it. Perhaps not many people in the audience realized that Lu Xiao's victory was actually due to Qin Hongfan's help. Perhaps other than Su Yun, there were a few people who noticed it, but they would not point it out. After all, there was no evidence, so even if they said it out loud, it would be useless. Sometimes, life is so helpless. The rules are maintained by everyone, but when everyone breaks them, your protection is often powerless and useless. Lu Xiao threw the head on the Sword Discourse Arena, took a deep breath, and quickly took out a pill and placed it in his mouth, trying to recover some of his strength. However, others might not give him the chance. Before Lu Xiao could even take 3 breaths, another spirit cultivator rushed up from below. Su Yun looked. The person on stage was also a familiar face. Lu Yi. It was the older man from the 2 men and 1 woman he had met in the tea house and tavern. Lu Yi, come on, don't embarrass us. Meng Qian, who was with him, shouted. Don't worry, he is already at the end of his tether. How can I not defeat him? Heh, on the heroic sword list? Today, I will kill you to establish my might and enter the heroic sword list. Lu Yi growled, then raised his sword and rushed towards Lu Xiao. Is this guy here to take advantage of me? The people below the stage snorted. Seeing that, Su Yun secretly shook his head. This was actually courting death. Lu Xiao, whose face was pale and panting, turned his head to stare at Lu Yi, who was rushing over. Suddenly, the corner of his mouth raised into a strange sneer. He held on to Xiao Jian tightly with both hands and waved in the direction of Lu Yi. Crash! A shockingly powerful sword qi suddenly exploded out from Xiao Jian's body, rushing into the distance. The sword qi was nearly 100 meters tall and a few meters wide. Like a surging wave, it directly pounced towards Lu Yi. Lu Yi's pupils instantly widened. He immediately spun the sword in his hand, activated the profound qi, and hurriedly defended. However, the sword qi's attack was extremely sudden, and there was no time to dodge. Lu Yi was instantly engulfed by the sword qi. The fierce sword qi directly cut open the Sword Discourse Arena, hitting the qi at the edge entering it, causing the chi to tremble violently like a candle in the wind. The people around the sword discourse arena were shocked, and all of them retreated. When they looked at the sword discourse arena again, they could no longer see Lu Yi's figure. Zhong Bai and Meng Qian were stunned. The two of them widened their eyes as they looked at the sword discourse arena in shock. One moved to wipe it out. Not even a corpse remained. Without any superfluous methods for front to back, there was not a single bit of extra strength. How is this possible? Zhong Bai's face was covered in sweat as he stared blankly. Right now, he wasn't the only one with such a face. The others were even more so. Lu Xiao and Jiu Fei had fought for half a day, and the profound cheese consumption was terrifying. How could he kill Lu Yi in one move? Even if Lu Yi's strength was not as good as Lu Xiao's, how could he be killed in one move? Was Lu Xiao too strong? Or had he been hiding his strength when he was fighting with Jiu Fei? No one knew. Was this still the 17th ranked existence on the heroic sword list? Was this still the Lu Xiao that everyone was familiar with? Everything was too unusual. He was truly the dark horse of this hero tournament. Shocked eyes stared at the sword discourse arena. Lu Xiao held on to Xiao Jian, his eyes indifferently staring at the crowd below, and said with a smile, "Which other hero wants to spar with me on stage? Please enlighten me." The people below were silent for a few seconds. Everyone looked at each other, but no one made a sound, much less went up on stage to fight. Who else could fight against Lu Xiao, whose strength was unfathomable? I'm afraid not. Oh, is there no one else to challenge? Seeing the silence below, the venerable Sword Valley Lord also stood up and walked onto the sword discourse arena. He called out, "If no one goes up on stage, then the divine object of the clear sky holy robe will be Lu Xiao, Lu Junkai of the heroic sword list." Kacha! At this moment, a light sound rang out. It was extremely abrupt in the crowd, and following that, waves of commotion came from the dragon and sword sect. Everyone hurriedly looked towards the source of the voice, only to see a person moving, step by step, towards the sword discourse arena, Long Guang Zhong. Chapter 7:15. Long Guang Zhong carried the long sword that was emitting a cold light, his expression solemn as he walked towards the sword discourse arena step by step. The crowd automatically parted to make a path for them. Pairs of surprised, expectant, astonished, and admiring gazes landed on him. The people from the sect of Dragon and Sword actually made their move. This is unbelievable. Seeing Long Guang Zhong's actions, the Cloud Heavenly Palace was already in an uproar, all of them raising their heads to watch. The people from the sect of Dragon and Sword are really impatient. If I were Long Guang Zhong, I would definitely wait a little longer, wait for these experts to go up and fight with Lu Xiao, wait for those experts to fight to the death, wait for those experts to fight to the death, and then make a move at that time. The opponents will all be exhausted, and I will wait for them to be exhausted. Wouldn't I be able to easily seize the title of Sword Master and obtain the Clear Sky Holy Robe? That's right, Long Guang Zhong really doesn't have any foresight. The people of Cloud Heavenly Palace were discussing. However, the Sword Lord could not help but shake his head. You're all wrong. Long Guang Zhong is on stage at the right time. If he doesn't go up now, then the person on stage will be me. As these words fell, everyone was speechless. Lord Sword Lord, what do you mean? What else can it mean? Lu Xiao's strength is not simple. You are not his match. I can say, even if Long Guang Zhong were to let those fellows from the sect of Dragon and Sword go up, they would only be throwing their lives away. It would be meaningless. At Lu Xiao's level of battle, most of the people present have already been eliminated unknowingly. Thus, only he can fight Lu Xiao alone, and only then will he have a chance of winning. So that's how it is. But if that's the case, wouldn't it be too easy for us? One of them laughed softly. Lu Xiao and Long Guang Zhong's strength are not simple. When the two tigers fight, there will definitely be injuries. When our Lord Sword Lord steps onto the stage, who could defeat him? Isn't this clear sky, holy robe something that belongs to my Cloud Heavenly Palace? That's right, ha ha ha. The group of people laughed again. However, the Sword Lord still had a heavy expression on his face. He glanced at the crowd and snorted. That's a good idea, but what you guys can think of, could it be that Long Guang Zhong can't think of it? Do you think that Long Guang Zhong is stupider than all of you? As soon as he said this, everyone's smile froze. Since Long Guangzhong dares to go up on stage, then he is naturally going for the clear sky holy robe. If he does not have the means to seize the clear sky holy robe, would he fight with Lu Xiao for nothing? Then he turned his head and stared at the arena. Watch carefully, don't be complacent, don't get carried away. Don't be careless before you get what you want. Yes, the disciples answered in a low voice. On the sword arena, everyone held their breath and looked at the two people above. Lu Xiao had won every battle, and he had won in a way that left everyone dumbfounded. Long Guangzhong, an elite expert of the Dragon Sword sect, was famous in all directions. The fight between these two was undoubtedly going to be extremely exciting, and it was something that countless people were looking forward to. Long Guangzhong was not someone of the same level as Lu Qi, and, presumably, Lu Xiao would not be so easy to deal with. The two of them stood on the stage and looked at each other. They did not say much, and then Long Guangzhong took the initiative to attack. Sword Qi gushed out from the sword platform. Empty the world. Whoosh! A figure flew across the horizon, and in the blink of an eye, it was already far away, approaching the vast and majestic empty encampment. Who is it? How dare you trespass and empty it? The disciples in front of the door immediately shouted. When the figure heard this, he landed on the ground and stood in front of the disciples. These disciples immediately became nervous and hurriedly took out their weapons. However, when everyone saw the appearance of the person who had arrived, they all revealed astonished expressions. Elder Luoz's eye? A person cried out involuntarily. The person beside him still couldn't believe it. He rubbed his eyes and took a closer look. That's right, it's me. The white-haired old man in front of him said expressionlessly, I want to see the Venerable One. Quickly go and inform him. The disciples guarding the door widened their eyes, unable to believe what they had just seen. What are you hesitating for? What? Don't tell me that you don't have me, the great elder, in your eyes? He said coldly. The disciples trembled, their faces filled with fear, and they hurriedly said respectfully, This disciple does not dare. It's just that elder you. He's already been taken away by the supreme sect, right? He took over the disciple's words. The disciple was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Although my sect has a grudge with the supreme sect, it is all a misunderstanding. Now that we have spoken, it is nothing much. Don't worry, the supreme sect did not do anything to me. Quickly inform the Venerable One. I want to see him. He still didn't have much of an expression on his face. After he finished speaking, he walked inside. The few disciples looked at each other and immediately ran towards the empty space. Very quickly, the news of him returning to the sect had spread throughout the entire sect. Gu Zizai led a group of empty upper echelons and quickly welcomed them. Before he could even reach the empty hall, he was stopped by the crowd. Elder Luo Zizai? Gu Zizai's expression was rather ugly as he stared at Gu Zizai. Elder Gu, he called out indifferently, his expression neither cold nor warm. Gu Zizai sized him up and said in surprise, Elder you seem to have recovered your memories. It doesn't matter if I recover my memories or not. What's important is that I'm back. Did the Supreme Sect people make things difficult for you? No. Then why did they let you come back? All of this is just a misunderstanding. After I meet the Venerable One, I will explain the whole story to everyone. He wanted to be at ease. Gu Zizai and the others were silent for a moment. They secretly exchanged glances, then finally nodded and made way. Gu Zizai and the others immediately followed him into the hall. The atmosphere was somewhat oppressive. Other than Gu Zizai, everyone else had their heads lowered, looking extremely nervous. However, that was true. After something happened to Gu Zizai, there were many people who wanted to kick him when he was down. Now that he had returned safely, wouldn't they be in trouble? Upon entering the palace, one could see the dignified, venerable emptiness realm expert sitting upright on the highest chair. He solemnly stared at Gu Zizai, who was walking in step by step, his deep eyes carefully scanning every corner of his body, not letting go of a single spot, as if he wanted to completely see through him. His expression did not change. There was no longer any confusion in his eyes. There was only calmness and calmness. Seeing this change, a trace of doubt that was hard to detect flashed across Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert's eyes. Guza's eye and the rest entered the hall one after another. They cupped their fists towards Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert and respectfully greeted. Greetings, Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert. Venerable Emptiness nodded with an incomparably indifferent expression. He waved his hand at Guza's eye and the others. Guza's eye understood and retreated to the left and right. He cupped his fists, still standing in the middle of the palace. Elder Zazai, Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert's magnetic voice floated over from above. He raised his head and said, Venerable One, did you come back from Supreme Sect? A light flashed across Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert's eyes as he asked in a low voice. Reporting to the Venerable One, yes. Take him down. Almost as soon as he said this, Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert's cold shout exploded out. When Guzazai and the others heard this, they did not dare to hesitate and immediately extended their hands to capture him. However, just as everyone got close to him, they were blasted away by the dense, profound chi that burst out from his body. Guzazai and the rest retreated, looking at him in shock. This was the empty heart-shaking chi. If he lost his memories, he would have forgotten many profound techniques. He definitely did not know how to use this heart-shaking chi. If he could use it, then there was only one possibility: he had regained his memory. Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert's eyes narrowed. He knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, Venerable One, I've already recovered my memories and am no longer the same as before. If the Venerable One does not care about the mistakes I've made in the past, I am willing to continue to serve you. I hope that the Venerable One will give me a chance to atone for my crimes. Oh, a trace of doubt flashed across Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert's eyes. You came back from a Supreme Sect safe and sound. How do I know if you were brainwashed by them and returned to me to secretly preach? In fact, the people of the Supreme Sect did want to do that, but just as they were instilling their so-called Supreme Divine Tao into me, I recover my memories. Thinking about the kindness that the Venerable One had shown me, I wanted to be free and shed tears of gratitude. I would definitely not do anything that would let me down, so I left the Supreme Sect and returned to empty it out. He said unhurriedly. When the surrounding people heard this, they roughly understood what was going on. It turned out that when the Supreme Sect people wanted to brainwash him, he wanted to recover his memories. He snorted coldly and said, Originally, I handed you over to the Supreme Sect to resolve the grudge between the two families. But now that you have left the Supreme Sect, the people of the Supreme Sect will definitely harbor hatred in their hearts. And in the future, they will definitely view me as an enemy. And in this way, you will once again stir up the grudge between the two families. If you want to be free, you will still be the sinner we cleared out. The people around looked at each other secretly. Everyone had something to say, but no one dared to speak. However, he bowed once again and said, Venerable One, don't worry. This time, I did not encounter much obstruction when I left the Supreme Sect. It can be said that the people of the Supreme Sect have already taken the initiative to let me leave. Why? Venerable Lord Emptiness moved his body forward slightly and asked in a deep voice, Because they gave up on me. I can't be brainwashed by them. I can't be absorbed by them, and it's unnecessary for them to force me to stay in the Supreme Sect. Rather than leaving me in the Supreme Sect and offending them, it's better to let me go. After all, Venerable One, the people of the Supreme Sect are actually very afraid of us clearing them out. Perhaps Venerable One does not understand the Supreme Sect, but in fact, the current Supreme Sect is not as strong as we imagine it to be. If I want to leave, they can't stop me. Moreover, right now, they were in a critical situation of life and death. How can you take care of me? As the sound of his voice faded, the entire hall fell silent. Venerable Lord Emptiness stared at him, then stood up and quickly walked down to help him up. Quickly tell me everything about the current situation of the Supreme Sect. Venerable Emptiness's expression was unprecedentedly serious. Chapter 716. Under the dim sky, there was a large area of strange and dazzling buildings. The devil chi surrounded everything, making this place look like the lair of the abyss demons. The hazy sky, the cold temperature, the air rippled with a strange aura, like killing intent. Mixed with devil chi, even the devil cultivator was unable to adapt to this kind of strange place. This was the true devil sect. What? You want to return to emptiness? Inside the Skull Palace, the two devils suddenly stood up from their chairs and looked at the standing demon who had come to report the news with a face full of shock. Yes, 3 days ago, standing demon said with a serious face. It seems like Vice Sect leader's guess is correct. The two devils took a deep breath and paced back and forth twice. Their skinny and old bodies gave off a desolate feeling. Supreme Sect. I'm afraid they're really going to make a move on us. If the Supreme Sect were to make a move on them, then it would confirm Octagon Aniseed's conjecture. The Supreme Sect had indeed begun to move, and their goal was definitely not limited to emptying. Vice Sect leader, this is an opportunity for us. At this time, the inner demon at the side suddenly said in a low voice. He slowly opened his sleepy eyes and looked at the true Devil Sect elders in front of him. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, he laughed twice and said, "Continue. Everyone continue. I'm listening." All the demons, the second elder and the second demon elder, looked at Octagon Aniseed and ignored his words. They directly said to the inner demon, "Opportunity? What do you mean? Quickly tell me." Getting rid of the inner demon nodded his head and ignored the sleepy ghost and said with a slightly bright voice, "According to the elders, the purpose of wanting to return to emptiness is to completely absorb the emptiness and become a member of the Supreme Sect, which means that all of the Supreme Sect's thoughts are placed on emptiness. We can take this opportunity to make a move on the Supreme Sect. Maybe we can even join hands to empty out and destroy the Supreme Sect together." With that said, all the devil cultivator fell into silence. However, Octagon Aniseed raised his fair hand and shook his head. "That's not right. That's not right. This is not right. Vice Sect leader, what's wrong with that?" The inner demon quickly asked. Octagon Aniseed shook his head. "Your idea is not bad, but it is completely impossible, because Supreme Sect will not focus all their energy on emptying themselves. Their current enemy is still us, so it is impossible for your idea to be realized." "Why?" Remove inner demon asked in confusion. "You still don't know?" Octagon Aniseed laughed. "We killed Wuxin Z and his group, and have long declared war with the Supreme Sect. The hatred between the two sides is already known to the entire world. The war between the two sides is about to arrive. Countless people are paying attention. If their Supreme Sect were to offend us at this time, wouldn't they be forcing us to join hands with them? If the two families were to join hands, the Supreme Sect would not be easy to deal with. How could they not know this? Then what you mean is, if you want to return and empty out, you were not sent by the Supreme Sect to preach? He was not brainwashed by the people of Supreme Sect? Go to the heart devil to ask. Brainwashing. Most likely, he has already been brainwashed. If he cannot be brainwashed, he will only die in Supreme Sect. Why would he return to empty out? Supreme Sect will make a move on him in the future. Isn't letting him go back like letting a tiger return to the mountain? Supreme Sect would no longer care about him and would only let him spread his teachings. It would take time for him to spread his teachings, not to mention that he could not fall out with the emptiness at this critical juncture, so he would have to spread his teachings in secret. This way, it would take even longer, and Supreme Sect could use this period of time to deal with my true Devil Sect. Venerable Emptiness is a protector. He does not want to casually start a war with others. The people of Supreme Sect know this. If he wants to be free, then there is no need for them to do anything. If he wants to be free and be discovered, they are not afraid because they are sure that he does not dare to make a move on the people of Supreme Sect. I'm afraid that we won't be able to detect it in a short period of time. And even if we do, I think that by that time, the battle between our true Devil Sect and his Supreme Sect would have already ended. Octagon Aniseed said at a moderate pace. Then we'll immediately send someone to clear them out and explain this matter to them. The inner demon said anxiously. Octagon Aniseed still shook his head. Don't be naive. If you want to return from the Supreme Sect, you will definitely be suspected by the Venerable One. But he actually entered the empty space safely. I'm afraid he used some method to make the empty space Venerable One trust him. Even if you go, it will be futile. The people who cleared it will not believe us. Then, Vice Sect Leader, what should we do? What should we do? Octagon Aniseed raised his eyebrows, looked at the inner demon, and laughed. I don't know. Bang dong. An explosion sounded on the Sword Discourse Arena. The chi screen surrounding the Sword Discourse Arena began to shake violently. Two figures were entangled on the Sword Discourse Arena. Multicolored rays of light continuously shone in all directions. It was extremely beautiful. The space inside trembled. The sword chi almost tore the entire Sword Discourse Arena apart. And from this, one could tell how intense the Sword Discourse Arena was. There was silence below. None of the surrounding spirit cultivator dared to make a sound. This match had deeply attracted everyone, including Su Yun. It had been an entire day. The battle between Lu Xiao and Long Guangzhong had already lasted for an entire day. It was still a draw. Everyone's mind was jumping along with the two swords swaying on the Sword Discourse Arena. Su Yun was the same, but after a day, worry surfaced on his face, as well as a filter. Long Guangzhong was gasping for breath, his face already showing signs of fatigue. His attack had also greatly reduced from its previous sharpness, from a single attack to both offense and defense, and then from both offense and defense to a single defense. Long Guang was tired. On the other hand, Lu Xiao was still in high spirits. His sword chi was overbearing. His attack was like a dragon. How could Lu Xiao have such a dense, profound strength? Impossible. Last time he fought with the drunken sword. How could he have the strength he had today? There must be someone secretly helping him. But was it still that Qin Hong San? Qin Hong San's strength might be much stronger than Lu Xiao's. But even if the two of them were joined hands, they would definitely not be able to suppress Long Guangzhong to such a miserable state. What was going on? The more Su Yun thought about it, the more puzzled he became. Lu Xiao's sword was not considered exquisite. To be able to beat Long Guangzhong to such a state, it was all because of his dense, profound qi. When Long Guangzhong's sword slashed at his body, most of it was blocked by his protective, profound qi, and when his sword slashed at Long Guangzhong's body, even if it was a seemingly weak sword, it could still bring about a strange effect. However, the surrounding people did not understand Lu Xiao and thought that the people on the heroic sword list were all so powerful. If Lu Xiao did not die after this battle, his ranking on the heroic sword list would probably rise again. Whiz! At this time, Lu Xiao's sword struck out again. Long Guangzhong raised his sword to block. The sword chi on his sword was like a dragon as it recklessly rushed out, wanting to shatter Lu Xiao's sword chi. However, Lu Xiao's sword chi suddenly turned into a barrier, like a thick iron wall. It forcefully blocked Long Guangzhong's sword chi and continued to press towards Long Guangzhong. Along with the sword chi, it smashed onto Long Guangzhong's body. Bang! Long Guangzhong flew out once again, heavily crashing onto the ground. The people from the Dragon Sword sect were stunned. Long Guangzhong wanted to get up, but he was struck by his opponent's sword. The terrifying, profound energy was like a falling sledgehammer, fiercely striking his chest. The sword chi shattered the Sword Discourse Arena beneath Long Guangzhong's body, and the terrifying power also shattered his protective, profound energy. Long Guangzhong's chest was smashed into pieces, and his flesh was badly mutilated, looking extremely miserable. Such a scene caused the surrounding people to burst into an uproar. It looked like Long Guangzhong was going to lose. I never thought that this Long Guangzhong from the Dragon Sword sect would actually be so weak. He can't even defeat a guy ranked 17th on the heroic sword list. TSK, TSK, TSK. Hey, don't belittle Long Guangzhong like that. He is, after all, a famous expert. And in today's battle, I don't think it's because Long Guangzhong is too weak, but because this Lu Xiao is too strong. The strength that he is displaying right now is not something that a person ranked 17th on the heroic sword rankings can possess. Looks like Lu Xiao had some sort of fortuitous encounter. That's right. The sounds of lamentation continued. Long Guangzhong opened his eyes wide in pain as he watched Lu Xiao walk over step by step. He gripped the sword in his hand tightly, as if he wanted to fight again, but the current him no longer had the ability to contend against Lu Xiao. Whiz! A cold light flashed towards Long Guangzhong's neck. Lord Long Guangzhong! The disciples of the sect of Dragon and Sword below all shouted. However, as the sword rose and fell, Long Guangzhong was directly beheaded. Soul overflowed. Long Guangzhong lost? Su Yun's heart tightened. This kind of situation was also out of his expectations. Looking at Lu Xiao's condition, he did not seem to have consumed too much energy, but Long Guangzhong was already unable to hold on any longer. The disciples of the sect of Dragon and Sword all rushed over and collected Long Guangzhong's soul. They no longer cared about the so-called hero's discussion of the sword, and carefully protected Long Guangzhong's soul as they hurriedly and anxiously ran out of the mighty Sword Valley. Long Guangzhong's crushing defeat caused everyone present to re-evaluate Lu Xiao. His strength had already exceeded everyone's expectations. It could be said that every time Lu Xiao fought, the strength he revealed would far surpass his previous strength. It was truly unexpected. Su Yun's eyes congealed. He stared at the lady holding the red umbrella, a strange expression appearing on his face. Then, who else can fight against the genius of the heroic sword rankings, Lord Lu Xiao? Seeing that the people below all had different expressions, the venerable Sword Valley's Valley Lord stood up and shouted again. However, the people below were all discussing, but no one dared to go up on stage again. On the contrary, countless people turned to look at the southwest corner. There stood a large group of spirit cultivator dressed in the same clothes. These were the experts of the Cloud Heavenly Palace. Now that even Long Guangzhong had been defeated and his body destroyed, the only one who could contend against Lu Xiao was probably the Sword Sovereign of the Cloud Heavenly Palace. The remaining rogue cultivators were simply courting death. It was just that the Sword Lord remained motionless, as if he was not interested in the clear sky holy robe at all. He stood at his original spot and waited quietly. The people from the Cloud Heavenly Palace were so anxious that they wished they could rush up to the Sword Discourse Arena right now. The scene became quiet. Even Long Guangzhong had been defeated. Lu Xiao's current might had already shocked the majority of the swordsmen present, and there were very few people who dared to go up and fight with Lu Xiao. Crash! At this moment, a figure suddenly jumped onto the Sword Discourse Arena. Everyone was startled and immediately looked towards the Sword Discourse Arena. However, to everyone's disappointment, this person was not the Sword Sovereign, but a nameless nobody. A nobody wearing a black Blade Master outfit. Chapter 717. Who is this person? I don't think I've seen him before. Can he do it? Who knows? There will always be people who aren't afraid of death. Since he dares to go up, he might have some skills. I think he is most likely so bold because he covets the clear sky holy robe. Under the drive of greed, anyone would do something stupid. Maybe he thought that after Lu Xiao and Long Guangzhong fought for a while, he had consumed too much energy, so he went up to the stage to reap the benefits. I think he's just thinking too much. The people below whispered to each other and discussed animatedly. Pairs of eyes stared at the man who was standing opposite Lu Xiao on the broken Sword Discourse Arena. Some looked down on him, some were surprised, some were confused, and some were disdainful in the eyes of many. The person who suddenly appeared on the Sword Discourse Arena was already a pile of minced meat. However, at the Cloud Heavenly Palace's side, the Sword Lord who was standing amongst the disciples was not an ordinary person. The Sword Lord's eyes were filled with astonishment and astonishment. He stared blankly at the man, unable to regain his senses for a long time. Fortunately, the disciples of the Cloud Heavenly Palace were all focused on the Sword Discourse Arena and did not notice the Sword Lord's expression. Otherwise, these disciples would definitely be suspicious. The mighty Sword Valley Lord's gaze landed on the black-clothed man, who was Su Yun. He looked around and left the sword discourse arena without saying a word. Below, Zhong Bai and Meng Qian were startled. Although they did not have much interaction with Su Yun, they still recognized that he was the person who came out of the evil sword forest. It's him? The two of them looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Lu Xiao opened his eyes and sized up the person in front of him. This person was not eye-catching. He wore black clothes and a hood that covered most of his face. There was a sword sheath hanging on his waist and a sword on his back. Whether it was the sword sheath or the sword, they were both extremely ordinary things in this sword world. Who are you? Lu Xiao was not in a hurry to attack Su Yun. He kept Xiao Jian into the desolator and cupped his fists and smiled. A nobody, Su Yun said indifferently. A nobody? Ha, this brother. Since you are a nobody, why do you want to fight with me for the clear sky holy robe? Do you think that my strength is not enough to enter your eyes? Lu Xiao smiled faintly, but this smile gradually became cold. A nameless person also has a greedy heart. Who wouldn't love a treasure like the clear sky holy robe? Su Yun pulled out the death sword and said indifferently, Hee, you got guts. However, if you want to obtain this treasure, you'll need to have the means to do so. Let's see if you have the means to obtain it. After LV Xiao finished speaking, he lifted the flute to his lips and began to play it. Seeing that, Su Yun activated his profound qi, and like a shuttle, he appeared in front of Lu Xiao in the blink of an eye. Before his voice could even ripple, his sharp sword had already slashed over. So fast, Lu Xiao's heart tightened. He immediately stopped blowing the flute and shook it. Dang! Xiao Jian brandished out and blocked the death sword's blade. The brutal force caused Lu Xiao's arm to go numb. The killing intent on the sword was like a basin of bone-chilling cold water hitting his face. This speed was something even Longuang Zhong could not compare to. Moreover, this power was inexplicably strong. Lu Xiao knew that this guy was not simple. He was not someone Longuang Zhong could compare to. He could not underestimate his opponent. He took a deep breath and pushed his speed to the limit. At the same time, he quickly retracted his sword, wanting to increase the distance between him and Su Yun, using the sound of the flute to restrain him. In terms of speed and strength, Lu Xiao was ashamed of his inferiority and could only use his magical flute sound to resist. The ripple-like flute sound quickly rippled out, and the miraculous green qi spread out in all directions like ripples, covering everything indiscriminately. Even though Su Yun's figure was extremely fast, it was still difficult for him to dodge and was attacked by it. Seeing that Su Yun was hit, Lu Xiao's eyes immediately lit up. He did not show any mercy. He stopped the flute sound, pulled out Xiao Jian, and once again rushed toward Su Yun. He rushed forward as if he wanted to fight with Su Yun. Seeing this, many people around the sword discourse arena were already worried. Previously, when Lu Xiao used this move, the moment the opponent used the profound strength, he would be attacked by the explosion, suffering unspeakable pain. The profound strength was crippled. It could be said that he had completely lost his fighting strength and was no longer able to contend against Lu Xiao. Now that Su Yun had suffered this move, would he still have the ability to fight against Lu Xiao? If a spirit cultivator couldn't use the profound strength, then what was the difference between him and a salted fish? However, before Lu Xiao's ruthless and crafty Xiao Jian could even slash at Su Yun, it was blocked by a slender black sword. Clang! A crisp sound rang out. The entire audience was stunned. This speed? How could it still be so fast? Could it be? Lu Xiao was shocked and stared at Su Yun. However, Su Yun was not affected by the strange qi in the slightest, and continued to dance with his sword. His sword was still as fast as ever, and his strength was still as fierce as ever, without the slightest change from before. Su Yun attacked quickly a few times, and Lu Xiao was immediately forced to retreat step by step, unable to resist. Although the profound strength on the sword was gone, and its power had dropped greatly, Su Yun's speed made up for its power, and it was so fast that it was suffocating. Wah! The crowd below immediately burst into an uproar. He did not urge the profound strength. With just speed and strength, He had forcefully forced this expert of the heroic sword list to retreat. Then, how brilliant was this person's swordsmanship? Was his previous speed the same as it was now, completely dependent on his body technique, and not the amplification of the profound strength? How much time and sweat did one have to spend to reach such a realm? For a moment, everyone lowered their heads and whispered, guessing the identity of this person. Lu Xiao was also forced to retreat, almost to the edge of the sword discourse arena. The qi that covered Su Yun's body did not disappear after it was released. Lu Xiao had to continuously increase the profound qi to maintain its existence. Otherwise, it would quickly evaporate into the air. Seeing that the qi was useless against Su Yun, Lu Xiao had no choice but to give up. He activated a magic treasure. An explosion sounded out between the two of them, forcefully separating the two of them. Su Yun retreated a few steps and accumulated his profound strength, while Lu Xiao jumped backwards and flew into the air. Following that, his body started to spin quickly. The Xiao sword was also danced by him like the wind, and streams of strange and sharp sword qi slowly rose around him. A different profound qi. Su Yun, who was below, instantly felt the change in Lu Xiao. This time, the profound qi was even thicker, sharper, and more ferocious. It was definitely not the profound qi that Lu Xiao was able to possess before. In a short period of time, to be able to make his profound qi suddenly change and become stronger, he could only rely on the magic treasure. However, Lu Xiao was different from others, and he did not have any signs of activating the magic treasure. Maybe many people thought that he had activated some kind of profound skill, but Su Yun could not think of any profound skill that would have such an effect. After all, the activation of a profound skill was built on the foundation of the profound qi. What kind of thing could change his foundation? Su Yun's gaze shifted and landed below the sword discourse arena. The woman holding the red umbrella. Qin Hong San. At this moment, she was staring intently at the person on top of the sword discourse arena with a serious and solemn expression. The red umbrella covered most of her appearance, and the people behind her could not see her expression. She held onto the umbrella handle with both hands, and her eyes seemed to be glued to Lu Xiao's body. What kind of strength did Lu Xiao have? Su Yun had already seen through in the tavern. His strength was definitely not what he was displaying now. It was definitely Qin Hong San who was secretly helping him, and the power that Lu Xiao was using now was extremely similar to the power that Qin Hong San had used outside the tavern. Although he was not sure how Qin Hong San did it, Su Yun was unwavering in his guess that Qin Hong San had secretly made a move. It was just that the surroundings of the Sword Discourse Arena had already been sealed by the mighty Sword Valley Lord, so the profound skill inside could not attack the outside of the Sword Discourse Arena. Furthermore, if they were to suddenly attack the surrounding audience, it would definitely incur the wrath of the crowd, so directly attacking Qin Hong San was obviously not possible. Then, the only way was to find out the connection between Qin Hong San and Lu Xiao. With Qin Hong San's help, it was impossible for Lu Xiao to obtain her power out of thin air. There must be something that could bridge it. As Su Yun thought about it, he distanced himself from Lu Xiao. With one hand, he secretly defended the space bag at his waist, preparing to take out the 7th-tier Imperial equipment at any time. At this moment, Lu Xiao's entire body was wrapped in a strong wind. Like a tornado, the surrounding air currents move along with it. It was extremely terrifying. The shattered Sword Discourse Arena was swaying. A large amount of sand was sucked in. The surrounding barrier was also swaying. It could be seen how terrifying Lu Xiao's move was. Su Yun stepped down, stabilized his body, stared at Lu Xiao, and moved his fingers. So. 3 mother swords flew out from the sword sheath. Tribulation Fire, Immortal Mystical Scarlet Blood Sword, Desolator. Of course, LV Xiao only saw 2 swords. The Tribulation Fire Sword and the Immortal Mystical Scarlet Blood Sword merged together, leading thousands of sub-swords to transform into an Iron Sword Dragon, striking LV Xiao head-on. While the Desolator Sword activated its unique invisibility effect, leading over 100 sub-swords to quietly approach from the side. Dingling. At this moment, a crisp sound came from within the tornado. Su Yun looked over, only to see Lu Xiao holding onto Xiao Jian and waving at the tornado in front of him. The sword disrupted the tornado's rotation and trajectory, causing a large amount of gas to explode out, shooting out in all directions like a goddess scattering flowers. The Iron Dragon was attacked, and the sub-swords inside trembled rapidly. The Desolator that was quietly approaching was also affected, and its power was greatly reduced. When it got close to the tornado, it was no longer able to pierce into it and injure Lu Xiao. Su Yun immediately activated the 7th tier Imperial equipment. A grayish-white chi cover rose up, blocking the chaotic explosion. The entire sword discourse arena was shattered by the explosion, causing smoke to fill the air. Its power was so terrifying that it caused the surrounding people to be flabbergasted. What a strong, profound strength. Su Yun thought. Lu Xiao had fought a few battles previously, and had already consumed a lot of his profound strength. How could he still use such a terrifying power now? Although it was difficult for the sharp sword to contend against the terrifying explosive chi, the 7th tier Imperial equipment was not an ordinary item. No matter how dense the explosive chi was, Su Yun was still as unmoving as a mountain, standing steadily. He did not consume much profound strength to activate the Imperial equipment, but if Lu Xiao were to use profound chi like this, he would not be able to hold on for long. Since that was the case, Su Yun was not in a hurry to attack Lu Xiao, but continued to wait in place. As expected, after such a fierce attack, seeing that he could not do anything to Su Yun, Lu Xiao became anxious and immediately urged the terrifying tornado to rush toward Su Yun. He took a step closer, and the suction force on Su Yun's body immediately increased by a few points, causing his footsteps to become more and more difficult to stabilize. Looking at Lu Xiao, when he rushed toward Su Yun, he actually gathered the surrounding wind toward Xiao Jian, as though he wanted to determine the outcome of the competition with one sword strike. That terrifying sword strike was already very close. Chapter 718. The people below held their breaths and stared intently at the sword discourse arena, especially this attack. Almost no one dared to make a sound. They could only hear the whistling sound of the wind within the sword discourse arena. Closer, closer, and closer. Facing this kind of destructive attack, would the defensive magic treasure in Su Yun's hand be able to withstand it? Everyone secretly swallowed their saliva and focused their attention on watching. Bang! An earth-shattering sound suddenly exploded from within the sword discourse arena. The terrifying tornado seemed to have engulfed Su Yun, and the moment the tornado touched Su Yun, LV Xiao also fiercely threw Xiao Jian, who was wrapped in the wind, towards Su Yun. Dongcha. With Su Yun as the center, the ground instantly shattered, like a collapsing stone slab. It split into pieces. The wind fiercely squeezed the Imperial equipment chi cover, and those that could not squeeze and all crashed into the ground. The barrier protecting the sword discourse arena had already been shaken by the terrifying and tyrannical wind, as though it could split at any time. The surrounding spectators were shocked by LV Zhao's world-shaking attack, to the point of retreating, afraid that the power would break through the barrier and affect them. Only Qin Hong San did not take half a step back. She was still like a statue, standing around the sword discourse arena, holding an umbrella and looking at LV Xiao. The wind inside the sword discourse arena wreaked havoc. Sand filled the sky. Su Yun's figure was almost instantly engulfed by the tornado. No one could find half of his figure, nor could they see the scene of the fight inside the sword discourse arena. Other than the raging sound of the sword chi, there was nothing else. That guy is dead, right? He should be dead. How could an ordinary person be able to withstand LV Zhao's attack? If it was me, I would not be able to withstand this move. That means LV Xiao won again. I never thought that LV Xiao would actually be so powerful. It seems like he has been lucky all these years. That's right, the strength he has displayed so far is simply not something that can be obtained by an existence ranked 17th on the heroic sword list. I think his strength is more than enough to enter the top 10. I'm afraid he can even compete with a person ranked first. Yes, yes. The surrounding spectators discussed animatedly. Regardless of whether it was the powerful spirit cultivator or the weak spirit cultivator, they all gave their own opinions and evaluations of the current LV Xiao, but it was very uniform. Everyone gave him a very high evaluation, and the surprise and shock that LV Xiao had brought them today was undoubtedly huge. The mist gradually dispersed, and everyone anxiously locked their gazes onto the broken sword discourse arena once again, including the sword sovereign, the mighty Sword Valley Master, Zhong Bai, and the others, as well as many heroes hidden in the crowd. However, before the fog had completely dispersed, a bright white light suddenly burst out. Everyone held their breaths. The bright white light dispersed the gray fog and gradually weakened. Then, two figures appeared in his line of sight. One of the figures held a thin sword in one hand, motionless and in a posture of attacking. The other figure held a small flag in one hand and a snow-white sword in the other. The sword had already pierced through the opponent's chest, and bright red blood was slowly dripping down the lustrous sword. What? The audience burst into an uproar. What's going on? Everyone was confused, and they all cried out in alarm. However, the people inside the platform ignored the reactions of the surrounding people and began to move again. The person holding onto the snow-white sword was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. The hand holding onto the sword twisted. The profound qi passed through the sword and tore the wound on the other party's chest even bigger. The imperial equipment on his body was like paper. It had long been pierced through by the sharp sword and was unable to protect his body at all. In fact, the imperial equipment also needed the support of the profound strength. Lu Xiao had used all of his profound qi in that sword strike. He did not expect Su Yun to counterattack at this moment, so much so that he did not even have time to activate the imperial equipment before it was broken by Su Yun. Lu Xiao's entire body trembled. The intense pain caused his face to contort. At this moment, his mind was completely blank. How could Su Yun block his terrifying attack? And how could he counterattack so quickly? All of this had exceeded his expectations. However, what was even more intense than this blankness was Lu Xiao's anger. How is this possible? He was a dignified expert of the heroic sword list. How could he lose to a nameless nobody? Once he lost, he would definitely not be able to gain a foothold in the sword world in the future, and his reputation would be completely ruined. He could not lose. He absolutely could not lose. No matter what, he could not lose. Thinking about it, Lu Xiao's twisted face became even more intense. He raised his sword, wanting to slash Su Yun again. But before the slender Xiao Jian could even get close, Su Yun kicked him and forced him back. The dense, profound energy on his feet was like a sledgehammer, bombarding his internal organs and even dispersing the profound qi in his qi meridian. Lu Xiao was caught off guard. His entire body trembled, and he spat out bright red blood. He fell backwards and solidly fell to the ground. He anxiously wanted to get up, but Su Yun rushed over again and kicked his head with all his might. Bang! He flew out again and landed beside the barrier. He was already in a daze. Qin Hong San, who was standing at the side of the sword discourse arena, also trembled and took a few steps back. She put away her red umbrella and looked at Su Yun in shock. It was unknown if it was intentional or not, but Su Yun's kick just now had coincidentally broken the link between her and Lu Xiao. Not only that, it had also scattered the profound qi in her body. After losing Qin Hong San's support, the tyrannical profound qi around Lu Xiao's body immediately retreated. His strength dropped drastically, and he completely lost the ability to contend against Su Yun. His entire body trembled as he held onto Xiao Jian, trying his best to stand up. Looking at Su Yun, who was walking towards him step by step, Lu Xiao's eyes finally revealed fear. He knew that it was impossible for him to defeat Su Yun, but if he continued to fight, his body would only be destroyed and his cultivation would be lost. But if he didn't fight, could he surrender? Furthermore, if he surrendered, the other party might not allow it. Furthermore, once he surrendered, Lu Xiao would definitely lose his reputation and be ridiculed by the people of the sword world. He would also be removed from the heroic sword list, and all the glory he had obtained would also vanish into thin air because of this. Thinking of this, Lu Xiao was in complete despair. His entire body trembled violently, and the fear in his eyes became stronger and stronger. Lu Xiao, surrender. At this moment, a voice came from below the sword discourse arena. Lu Xiao looked towards the source of the voice and realized that the person who spoke was Qin Hong San. You? What did you say? Lu Xiao was stunned. I told you to surrender. Her face was solemn as she held onto the red umbrella tightly and shouted at Lu Xiao. The mighty Sword Valley Lord did not say that surrendering was not allowed in this competition, but this was already the tacit agreement of the people of the sword world. Many people would rather die in battle than surrender, but this did not mean that it was impossible. As soon as he said this, the surrounding experts all looked at Lu Xiao. Surrender? To the people of the sword world, this was a great humiliation. Lu Xiao's expression also changed drastically. Surrender? This thought lingered in his mind. However, with so many people watching, if he were to surrender here, how would he have the face to stand in this world? Suyin raised his head. Under the hazy cloak, a pair of slightly red eyes looked at him, and then continued to walk towards Lu Xiao with his sword in hand. Seeing that, Lu Xiao's expression became more and more flustered, and the hand holding the sword also trembled. His cultivation was actually not high, but to be able to rank on the heroic sword board, it was all thanks to his dual cultivation partner, Qin Hong San's help in the dark. No one discovered this secret, and every time Lu Xiao fought with someone, it was actually 2 against 1. So Lu Xiao won time and time again, and no one could stop him. But now, he had already lost the connection with Qin Hong San, and was unable to borrow Qin Hong San's power for a while. Without Qin Hong San's help, he did not dare to fight with his opponent anymore. Lu Xiao, what are you hesitating for? Surrender quickly. Surrender. Seeing that Lu Xiao was still hesitating, Qin Hong San immediately shouted again. What nonsense are you talking about? If I surrender, how will I gain a foothold in the future? How will I have the face to walk in the sword world? Lu Xiao's face was pale white as he clenched his teeth and said, You've lost your physical body and your cultivation has been destroyed. If you don't have your cultivation, who would look up to you? Qin Hong San clenched his teeth and said in a low voice, This world only recognizes strength. With strength you will be respected. Without strength, you will only be an ant on the ground. Lu Xiao, do you still not understand this logic? Quickly surrender, protect your physical body, protect your cultivation. Hearing that, Lu Xiao immediately hesitated. He looked at Su Yun, who was walking over step by step, and involuntarily retreated. Even if I am willing to surrender, he might not let me go. If I surrender, and he still doesn't let me go, then wouldn't I have nothing left? He will definitely allow you to surrender. His goal is the clear sky holy robe, not you. Hurry up and surrender. Qin Hong San was still trying to persuade him. Lu Xiao was stunned for a long time, and finally, a strange word came out of his mouth. As the sound of his voice faded, everyone's eyes widened. Could it be? Lu Xiao really planned to surrender? Su Yun held on to his sword. His pale face did not change much, nor did he reveal any surprised expression. He quietly looked at Lu Xiao, not moved by his and Qin Hong San's words in the slightest. I surrender. Just then, Lu Xiao spoke in a voice that only he and Su Yun could hear. Su Yun stopped in his tracks, raised his head slightly, and looked at him with blood-red eyes. I surrender. Please, don't kill me. He lowered his head, took a few steps forward, and was about to kneel down, as if he was begging for Su Yun's pity. However, just as he was about to kneel down, his body exploded, gathering all the strength in his body. He rushed toward Su Yun. Xiao Jian transformed into a dark green bolt of lightning in the air, slicing straight at Su Yun's neck. Sneak attack. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. No. Qin Hong San, who was below, was already screaming miserably. Lu Xiao's plan was very good. He used his conversation with Qin Hong San to attract Su Yun's attention, then pretended to agree to Qin Hong San's suggestion and launched a sneak attack on him. As long as he won against Su Yun, Qin Hong San would go up on stage to fight with him, and he could surrender to Qin Hong San. The two of them were dual cultivation partners, so Lu Xiao would definitely not lose face if he surrendered to Qin Hong San. Furthermore, he had already fought for several rounds in a row and was already at the end of his tether. No one would say anything if he surrendered at this time, but now it was different. And at this moment, Lu Xiao had completely ignored one thing: his speed. It was simply incomparable to Su Yun. Compared to Su Yun, it was simply a world of difference. Just as Lu Xiao was about to launch a sneak attack, a cold light had already leaped over Xiao Jian and pierced through Lu Xiao's neck, tearing apart his artery. A head flew into the air. Chapter 719. Pudong. The head fell to the ground, and fresh blood flowed out in all directions. The headless corpse in front of Su Yun also fell to the ground. The shattered sword discourse arena regained its calm. The surroundings were terrifyingly quiet. Everyone was flabbergasted, their eyes wide open as they looked at the man in the black cloak on the sword discourse arena. Lu Xiao had lost. He had been beheaded in public, and his defeat had been so complete and straightforward. His soul flowed out of the corpse and floated in the air, flying towards Qin Hong Fan. Qin Hong Fan's calm face could no longer maintain its calm. His face twisted, he clenched his teeth and glared at Su Yun. The red umbrella in his hand opened and closed, sucking in Lu Xiao's soul. Su Yun kept his imperial equipment, held onto the Lotus Star Sword, and stared at Qin Hong Fan. If it's an open and above-board battle, I, Su, have nothing to say if I lose. If it's an open and above-board battle, I, Su, will look down on it. There are many talented people on the heroic sword list, but you two scum are a disgrace. Su Yun said indifferently. When these words were spoken, many people were confused, but Qin Hong Fan understood what he was talking about. However, Su Yun's words had already made some people understand. What is this person talking about? Shame of scum? Is he talking about Lu Xiao and Qin Hong Fan? Perhaps the battle just now wasn't as simple as we saw it. The crowd discussed amongst themselves, and their eyes were filled with suspicion as they looked at Qin Hong Fan. Qin Hong Fan looked left and right. His expression was ugly, but he did not dare say anything. He could only clench his teeth and shout at Su Yun, "Who are you?" Su Yun. He raised his sword. "Welcome to challenge me, but I hope it's fair and square." "Good. If you want to challenge, I'll grant your wish." Qin Hong Fan was furious. He actually jumped onto the stage and landed in front of everyone. Qin Hong Fan finally couldn't help but make his move. Her actions immediately caused the crowd to recover from their shock. Some of the warlike people raised the sharp swords in their hands and shouted with all their might. The cheers continued, and the entire Mighty Sword Valley was in an uproar. Lu Xiao's body had been destroyed by Su Yun. As Lu Xiao's dual cultivation partner, how could Qin Hong San let this matter rest? This battle would definitely be a battle to the death. Although Qin Hong San's ranking was lower than Lu Xiao's, Qin Hong San rarely made a move, and no one understood her cultivation level. This time, she might not be able to hide it. Once Qin Hong San got on stage, he did not waste any more words with Su Yun and immediately made his move. The red umbrella in her hand opened, and a gust of wind blew out from the umbrella, straight toward Su Yun. Her body swayed, and her figure became illusory, as though she had disappeared with the gust of wind. Just that, a sharp killing intent instantly enveloped Su Yun's heart. He was secretly on guard, activating the 7th-tier Imperial equipment. A grayish-white chi cover enveloped his body. Just as the energy shield rose, a red light streaked across his eyes and was enveloped by the energy shield. It was the umbrella sword that Qin Hong San had hidden inside the umbrella. What incredible speed! But in terms of speed, Su Yun was not slow either. After blocking Qin Hong Fan's attack, the chi cover instantly disappeared, and the Lotus Star Sword swept up a sword image that looked like a blooming lotus, swallowing Qin Hong Fan. Clang, clang, clang. The sword shadows struck Qin Hong San's pink clothes, but it was as if they were striking a terrifying piece of iron. Other than a large amount of sparks flying out, they were unable to advance at all and injure his flesh and bones. Imperial equipment. It was the Imperial equipment again. Furthermore, with such a dense, profound strength, he could not even leave a single mark on the clothes. It could be seen that the defense was astonishing, and the grade of the Imperial equipment was probably within the 10th grade. Su Yun's eyes congealed. The news of Wu Xinzi being killed had already spread to many realms. The enmity between the True Devil sect and the Supreme sect had been established, and the relationship between the two forces had become more and more tense. Many people from various forces raised their heads and watched, adopting a wait-and-see attitude towards all of this. However, there were also people with unique vision who stood out at this critical juncture, calling for everyone to join hands and support the True Devil sect to fight against the Supreme sect together. However, the people who called for the fight against the Supreme sect were all weak people. No one from the Supreme expert of the big sect stood out, and their cries were just like a wave in the ocean, completely useless. As for the empty space that was previously in an uproar with the Supreme sect, he also maintained his silence and acted as a neutral party. He did not care about the grudges between the Supreme sect and the True Devil sect. Perhaps many people thought that the happiest person at this moment was to be emptied, because the True Devil sect had successfully attracted all of the Supreme sect's hatred onto himself. They might be able to catch their breath after emptying out. However, all of this was just an illusion seen by those who did not understand the Supreme sect. Inside the True Devil sect, Standing Demon found the second elder and the second demon and reported the recent movements of the Supreme sect to them. When the two devils heard this, their faces turned serious. Without hesitation, they charged into the cultivation grounds of the Octagon Aniseed and reported the current situation to him. The people from the Supreme sect have already moved. In the training grounds, Octagon Aniseed, who was resting against a rock, rubbed his sleepy eyes and asked the two devils in front of him. That's right, for this operation, they did not send too many experts, but they sent a group of extremely fanatical members of the Supreme sect. There are about 20,000 of them, and they are rushing towards the True Devil realm. I'm afraid that most of them are here for my True Devil sect. The two devils said worriedly, I've already asked the great clan Elder Yuanamo to inform the sect master of this matter, but the sect master still wishes for me to hear your opinion. Sigh. It's really troublesome for me to deal with such matters all the time. There's nothing we can do about it. After all, you're the vice sect leader. The other party suddenly sent 20,000 people, and all of them are fanatical believers who don't care about their lives. What should we do? Octagon Aniseed laid on the ground, one hand supporting his chin as he pondered. The two devils patiently stood at the side and waited. After an unknown period of time, got it. Octagon Aniseed sat up, clapped his hands, and said hurriedly. The two devils hurriedly bowed. Please give me your instructions, vice sect leader. We might as well surrender. Octagon Aniseed laughed. As the sound of his voice faded, the training grounds became silent. After a long time, no one made a sound. The eyes of the demons stared straight at Octagon Aniseed without any trace of politeness. Octagon Aniseed's smile was a little stiff. Seeing that the two devils did not have any reaction, he scratched the back of his head and laughed dryly. He sighed and said, All right, I'll think about it again. Think about it again. The two devils still didn't say anything. Just like that, after an unknown period of time, Octagon Aniseed finally raised his head and continued to speak. With our current strength, fighting against the Supreme sect alone can be said to be like hitting a rock with an egg. Therefore, fighting them head-on is obviously not feasible. We can only take other paths. What do you think, vice sect leader? The two devils spoke again. Pull in more reinforcements, join forces with them, and fight against the Supreme sect together with us. Octagon Aniseed said without hesitation. However, the two devils shook their heads and said in a low voice, I'm afraid that's not possible. The Supreme sect's strength is monstrous. Not many powers dare to offend him, and the powers that fight against the Supreme sect for us are even fewer. In such a short period of time, I'm afraid no one will stand on our side. I know, with your 3-inch tongues, you really can't pull in more reinforcements, but the heavens will never give up, Sometimes what the tongue can't do can be done with the weapon. What the weapon can't do can be done with the tongue. Those powers want to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Watch the success and failure. We will force them to join us. That way, wouldn't we be able to fight against the supreme sect? Octagon Aniseed laughed. Force? The two devils frowned. Vice sect leader's meaning is for my true devil sect to use force to coerce other forces and force them to fight against the supreme sect with us. Are you stupid? Octagon Aniseed rolled his eyes. Now that we can't even protect ourselves, how can we have the strength to do that? Furthermore, if we don't do well, we will create a new enemy for ourselves. How can we do something like this that only an idiot would do? Then, what does Vice Sect Leader mean? Of course, it's under the Supreme Sect's banner. Octagon Aniseed whispered. When the two devils heard this, they immediately understood. Octagon Aniseed was planning to use underhanded methods, using the Supreme Sect's banner to provoke the other sects, forcing them into a desperate situation and forcing them to join hands with the true devil sect. This idea is not bad, but in such a short period of time, which power should we attack? And what should we do? If the other party finds out that we are pretending to be the Supreme Sect, what should we do? The two devils said in a serious tone. If we only send our true devil sect people to use the illusion technique to transform into the Supreme Sect people's appearance, then the chances of us being seen through are too high. But if we were to let the real Supreme Sect people go, what would happen? Octagon Aniseed smiled. Looking at the confusion that flashed past the two demons' eyes, he continued. The main method that the Supreme Sect people rely on to absorb disciples is the limitless profound chi. After cultivating this profound chi, and then being instilled with the Supreme Divine Tao's concept, no matter who it is, they will fall deeply into the Supreme Sect, unable to extricate themselves. But our method is simple and crude. We can directly use the possession technique to transfer our souls into the Supreme Sect people's bodies, and from there, we can control the Supreme Sect people's bodies. Our true devil sect's possession technique can be said to be the most exquisite possession technique in the entire true devil realm. It can quickly switch souls and transfer them between bodies. Right now, aren't there 20,000 Supreme Sect disciples rushing towards the true devil realm? Immediately go and make the arrangements, mobilize all the experts in the sect, leave the sect to stop them, and capture these 20,000 people at all costs. If they resist strongly, then kill them. But remember, you must preserve your physical body. Do you understand? The entire sect is attacking. When the two devils heard this, they were immediately alarmed. Their indifferent faces also changed. Vice Sect Leader, if we were to use all our strength to attack these 20,000 people, what would happen if there was an ambush? And does the true devil sect not need protection? If these 20,000 people cannot be taken care of, the true devil sect will definitely be devoured by the Supreme Sect. At that time, won't your worries still happen? We must take care of these 20,000 people in the shortest amount of time possible, and we cannot let the news leak out. Otherwise, all of our plans will not work. Octagon Aniseed shrugged. When the two devils heard this, they opened their mouths, but in the end, they nodded and immediately went to do it. Chapter 720. Clang, clang, clang. The densely packed sword images dazzled the eyes of the people below the stage. At this moment, red flowers danced in the sky inside the sword discourse arena, and the sword images shuttled back and forth between the red flowers, almost occupying the entire space of the sword discourse arena. Facing such a dense sword attack, even a god would not be able to dodge it. However, even if they couldn't dodge, the two of them were completely unharmed in the face of such a sword attack. With the protection of the 7th tier Imperial equipment and the protection of the Wanhua seed, Su Yun was not afraid of any of his opponent's sword moves. Qin Hong San was not an ordinary person either. Her red clothes had a terrifying defense, and even with Su Yun's sharp sword, it was difficult to break through her defense. Su Yun could not hurt Qin Hong San, and Qin Hong San could not do anything to Su Yun either. Both of them had Imperial equipment with extremely strong defensive capabilities, and sharp blades were extremely difficult to break, unless they had sharp blades with terrifying destructive power. Su Yun knew that every single one of the mother swords in his hands were extraordinary, but his cultivation was not enough to release all of the power of the mother swords. As a result, the two of them could only attack each other's imperial equipment to consume the opponent's profound chi, break the imperial equipment, and then kill them. Right now, they were competing to see who had more profound chi. The sword chi that was like a violent storm crazily tore apart the barrier around the sword discourse arena. The barrier was like a lonely boat in the ocean, crazily shaking, and the cracks on it grew larger and larger. From the looks of it, it seemed like it would break at any time. Seeing this, the Mighty Sword Valley Lord's expression changed slightly. He nodded to the people from the Mighty Sword Valley beside him, and immediately, two people from the Mighty Sword Valley rushed to the Sword Discourse Arena and landed on both sides of the Sword Discourse Arena, channeling their chi towards the barrier. As for the Mighty Sword Valley Lord himself, he stood up and shouted, "The destructive power of the two heroes fighting is beyond my imagination. I'm afraid that this barrier won't be able to hold on for long. So please quickly retreat to the outside of the valley to watch the sword discussion." As soon as he finished speaking, the people present did not hesitate at all and immediately dispersed in a scattered manner. Looking at the intensity of the battle, one could tell that the Mighty Sword Valley Lord was not just trying to scare them. After everyone left, the surroundings of the Sword Discourse Arena were completely empty. Everyone soared into the sky and looked at the valley. As expected, the two of them had only fought fiercely for less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn, and the ruthless sword chi immediately tore the barrier around the Sword Discourse Arena into pieces. The raging sword chi inside was like a flood that had broken through a river bank and instantly gushed out in all directions, shattering the ground, valley walls, formation platforms, and so on. When the people above saw this scene, all of them secretly broke out in cold sweat. If they were to stay there, not to mention whether or not they could block the attack, even if they could block it, they would suffer a lot of injuries. After fighting for a long time, the two of them seemed to be unwilling to continue. Both of them had imperial equipment, and their profound strength was astonishing, so they were evenly matched. There was no point in continuing to fight, so they could only change their fighting methods. Su Yun distanced himself from it. While urging the imperial equipment, he used the limitless sword arts, sizing up the flying sword and circling around Qin Hong San. Qin Hong San urged the clothes on his body. Forcefully pushing forward, he pulled out the umbrella sword and slashed at Su Yun. The profound strength on the umbrella sword was like an open red umbrella, flying towards him in the shape of a scattered flower. Continuing to fight would be extremely disadvantageous to him. Furthermore, even if he defeated Qin Hong San, if another expert were to challenge him, it would be difficult for him to hold on for long. It was not that Su Yun did not secretly pay attention to it when he was below the stage. There were countless experts here. The Sword Lord and Long Guangzhong were not the best, and it was even more impossible for Liu Xiao and Qin Hong San to be the best. If he consumed a lot of energy with Qin Hong San, what else could he use to fight against his next opponent? Furthermore, there was still the Mighty Sword Valley Lord, who was waiting for him at the side. He would never believe that a guy who had protected the clear sky holy robe for so many years, and even lost his own son's life, would hand over such a divine object to someone else at this time. Thinking about it, Su Yun secretly turned his gaze and looked around. The people around him had already retreated far away. His gaze unconsciously fell on the people of Cloud Heavenly Palace in the distance. At this moment, the Sword Lord was also looking at him. A strange light flashed past Su Yun's eyes. He then turned his neck and continued to fight with Qin Hong San. The two of them crazily danced with their swords, and the sword shadows almost engulfed the two of them. The people beside them were dazzled and didn't dare breathe. This battle was truly exquisite. However, what was even more shocking was Su Yun's speed. From the start of the battle until now, he had not eaten a single one of his opponent's attacks. On the other hand, Qin Hong San had almost fallen to the ground from Su Yun's sword strikes. From this, it could be seen that Su Yun's strength was still above Qin Hong San's. Qin Hong San's face was filled with anger. After being beaten to such a sorry state by Su Yun, he was naturally unhappy. His attacks became even more ferocious, completely different from the quiet virgin from before. I've never seen such an expert before. With his strength, he will definitely be able to rank in the top 10 of the heroic sword list. More than just the top 10, I'm afraid it's even possible for him to be in the top 3. Previously, he had killed Lu Xiao, and now that he is able to fight Qin Hong San to a draw, his strength is at least close to the Spirit Emperor. Spirit Emperor? That's really incredible. The surrounding people discussed animatedly, commenting on Su Yun, praising and exclaiming nonstop. Just as they let out such a sigh, a muffled sound came out from the other side. Su Yun was careless and did not have the time to dodge Qin Hong San's sword attack. His entire body was struck by the sword, and the profound qi protecting his body was in chaos, and he flew out, directly crashing into the distant valley wall. The disciples of Cloud Heavenly Palace at the side hurriedly dodged. However, just as the Sword Lord was about to dodge, he saw Su Yun, who had crawled out from the valley wall, rush out again. He brushed past the Sword Lord's shoulder like the wind and rushed towards Qin Hong San once again. However, the moment he passed through the Sword Lord, a few words floated into the Sword Lord's ears. "Cover me." The voice came so suddenly that the Sword Lord didn't even have time to react. When these 3 words rang out, he was stunned for a moment and frowned. He did not understand Su Yun's actions. However, his life was currently in the hands of Octagon Aniseed. How could he dare to disobey Su Yun, the demon lord of the true devil sect? Others did not recognize Su Yun, but he was very clear. That mystical sword sheath was still fresh in his memory. The Sword Lord did not dare hesitate, and immediately alerted the other disciples of the Cloud Heavenly Palace. He then quietly activated the profound strength, and slightly approached the place where Su Yun and Qin Hong San were fighting, preparing to take action at any time. Although he did not know what Su Yun was going to do, he had to respond positively. Could it be that Su Yun was unable to defeat Qin Hong San, and was preparing to borrow the power of the Sword Lord to fight? If that was the case, then it would be a violation of the Sword Discourse competition. If that was the case, the Cloud Heavenly Palace would be violating the rules of the Hero's Discourse Sword and the rules of the Sword World. The Sword Lord and the others would definitely become the target of public criticism. In this way, the situation would not be good. However, if he did not do as Su Yun said, the Sword Lord would still not be able to escape death. Thinking of this, the Sword Lord had no choice but to gather his strength. Su Yun got close to Qin Hong San once again, grabbed onto the strange black sword, and unleashed a torrential barrage of attacks at it. This time, Su Yun did not hold back at all. He immediately kept the Imperial equipment and changed into the Death Sword and the Lotus Star Sword, one black and one white. Like 2 bolts of lightning, shot out from his hands and smashed onto Qin Hong San's body. Qin Hong San immediately felt the pressure increase. At this moment, Su Yun seemed to have completely given up on defense and turned from defense to attack, looking like he would not rest until he died. It was extremely strange. From the looks of it, he seemed to want to end the battle quickly. Could it be that his profound qi could no longer keep up? Qin Hong San's eyes congealed. She was not moved by Su Yun's berserk attack, but instead continued to defend. Not only did she defend, she even gave up on a portion of her profound qi attack towards Su Yun and maintained all of it on the Imperial equipment on her body. From the looks of it, she was planning to go against Su Yun and not fight, and continue to fight. Qin Hong San's thoughts were indeed correct. Su Yun had fought with Lu Xiao before, so the profound qi was probably not much. Even if it was not less than Qin Hong San's, it was not much more than hers. And the reason why Qin Hong San went up on stage was most likely to take revenge for Lu Xiao, so he did not think much about seizing the Clear Sky Holy Robe. But Su Yun was different. He went up on stage for the Clear Sky Holy Robe. If he fought with Qin Hong San for too long and consumed too much profound energy, then even if he did not lose this round, he would definitely lose in the next round. So he could only end the battle quickly in order to win. Qin Hong San's battle of attrition, to most people, was in line with the time and people. However, she obviously did not understand Su Yun. He also did not understand. Ever since Su Yun stepped into the mighty Sword Valley, he had never cared about the people here. From start to finish, he only had one goal. That was the clear sky holy robe. Whiz! A bolt of lightning suddenly shot up into the sky. Qin Hong San was startled. The speed of the lightning was too fast. She did not even have the time to see if it was a sword or not. But no matter what, even if it was Su Yun's attack, it would not be able to break through his imperial equipment. However, just as this thought appeared in Qin Hong San's mind, a huge hand suddenly reached out from behind him, followed by an uproar from the surrounding crowd. Qin Hong San's entire body trembled. Before he could even react, he felt his body being ruthlessly restrained by a large hand, and his entire body was being suppressed by an enormous and shocking force. What was going on? Qin Hong San turned his head to look, only to see an incomparably huge giant standing behind him. Puppet equipment. Her heart was beating wildly. The giant's eyes were blood red as he stared at himself coldly, causing one's hair to stand on end. The devil chi around his body flowed out of his body like tentacles and wrapped around him. Qin Hong San's heart skipped a beat. He immediately felt that something was wrong and immediately urged his chi to struggle. But at this moment, a shadow suddenly flashed past her and leaped over. Qin Hong San anxiously looked over, only to see that Su Yun, who was fighting with him, had actually given up on him and directly rushed towards the statue in the center of the sword discourse arena. The Clear Sky Holy Robe. Chapter 721. What? Qin Hong San's eyes, which had been calm the entire time, immediately widened. His expression froze, and he could not believe what he had just seen. Su Yun was actually heading straight for the Clear Sky Holy Robe. What was this place? This was the mighty Sword Valley. Not to mention that there were many experts in a mighty Sword Valley. Now that the hero was discussing the sword, who knew how many experts from all over the sword world had gathered here. By doing this, wasn't Su Yun looking down on the mighty Sword Valley and the experts of the world? This was simply a naked provocation to the experts around him. Everyone was stunned. Perhaps no one thought that Su Yun would do such a thing. Qin Hong San was tightly restrained by the giant's hand and was unable to break free for a while Su Yun used all his strength to get close to the statue, raised his cold sword, and slashed it into pieces. Crack! The statue immediately shattered into pieces, and the clear sky holy robe on the statue immediately rolled down along with the rubble. Su Yun did not dare hesitate, and immediately picked up the clear sky holy robe. This action of his was like a steel needle, piercing everyone's heart. The mighty Sword Valley Lord immediately roared in anger. How dare you? How dare you break the rules of the hero's discourse of the sword and seize the saint robe without permission? Unforgivable. With a roar, the mighty Sword Valley Lord and a group of experts rushed towards Su Yun without hesitation. Boom, boom, boom. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, several more bolts of lightning shot into the sky and then fell down. Just as the mighty Sword Valley Lord was rushing towards Su Yun, several terrifying devil-bone giant-s appeared once again. They were like walls, blocking the path of the people from the mighty Sword Valley. Seeing that, Su Yun took the clear sky holy robe and ran. Seeing Su Yun's actions, how could the spirit cultivator-s that were gathered in all directions let him escape? Immediately, all of them roared and rushed towards Su Yun. The reason why everyone came here was because of the clear sky holy robe. Now that this treasure was forcefully snatched away by a nameless nobody in front of everyone, how could they be willing? Streams of killing intent surged towards Su Yun's head like ferocious beasts. There was no suspense. Su Yun had already become the target of public criticism. However, just as the surrounding spirit cultivator were about to move, the sword sovereign also moved. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "Audacious thief, breaking the rules of the sword conference and stealing treasures. See if I don't destroy you." With that said, he brandished his treasure sword and struck towards Su Yun, causing a golden sword chi to explode out from the sword and fly towards Su Yun. However, before the sword chi could even get close to Su Yun, it exploded on its own, and a circle of terrifying sword chi ripples spread out in all directions, affecting all the surrounding spirit cultivator, making it difficult for them to advance. Sword King, what are you doing? Seeing that this attack had actually forced everyone to stop moving forward, someone immediately questioned. What do you mean? The Sword King snorted, turned his head and stared at the man, shouting, What's with your attitude? Is he talking to me? Are you provoking me? You. That person was obviously caught off guard. He did not expect this guy to have such a big reaction. Although the Sword Lord's cultivation was not the strongest here, he had brought so many experts from the Cloud Heavenly Palace with him. With so many people, this person naturally did not dare to provoke him. Furthermore, taking back the clear sky holy robe was the most important task right now. He did not want to get entangled with the Sword Lord. So he said, I won't talk to you anymore. Now that the clear sky holy robe has been taken by the thief, I'll talk to you after I take back the clear sky holy robe. With that, the man spun and was about to rush towards Su Yun. But just as he stood up, he was intercepted by the Sword Lord in a flash. From your words, you seem to be extremely dissatisfied with me. I, the Sword Lord, am a person who will take revenge and complain. Since you are dissatisfied with me, then let's settle this now. With that, the Sword Lord ignored the chaos around him and directly attacked that person. That person was shocked and immediately dodged the Sword Lord's sword. The long sword in the Sword Lord's hand released a golden light, and a large amount of golden sword chi shot out like the sun, flying in all directions. Every time he brandished his sword, a terrifying explosion would occur, and a shockwave would send a large number of spirit cultivator flying. Its power was extremely terrifying. That person was infuriated and roared, Sword Lord, do you still want the clear sky holy robe? What the hell are you doing? I'll kill you. The Sword Lord snorted and attacked again. He was truly overbearing. Damn it, don't think I'm afraid of you. That person was forced into a corner. Brother Liu, I'll lend you a hand. People of the Cloud Heavenly Palace, aren't you being too arrogant? Are you trying to bully us with your numbers? I've long since disliked you guys. Some of the people who had a good relationship with the spirit cultivator rushed over and started to fight with the Cloud Heavenly Palace. The two sides started to fight like glue. The battle began, and the scene became more and more chaotic. However, the Sword Lord's main goal was not to kill that person, but to continuously use the surrounding profound technique and randomly attack, causing the already chaotic scene to become like a pool of muddy water. Seeing that, Su Yun did not dare waste any time. He immediately threw the death sword into the air, stepped on the death sword, held the imperial equipment in his hand, and activated all of the profound chi to escape out of the mighty Sword Valley, leaving Devil Bone Giant and the Sword Sovereign to cover for him. Su Yun walked extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had already arrived at the edge of the mighty Sword Valley. The spirit cultivator with low cultivation did not even have time to react before Su Yun rushed over. Only a few powerful existences approached them. These people's cultivation were extremely high, and their speed was not slow either. Among them, there were experts from the heroic sword list. Everyone dispersed and rushed towards Su Yun in several directions, wanting to completely surround him. If you want to obtain the clear sky holy robe, then rely on your own strength to act. What's the point of using such a despicable method? A man in a red robe rushed over with a sword that was as clear as water. He shouted coldly as he stabbed forward. He was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, unstoppable. Su Yun activated the imperial equipment and activated his defense. When the sword stabbed into his body, his entire body was sent flying by the force of the sword and fell onto a mountain not far away. The matter is urgent, and there is no other way. If it was possible, I wouldn't want to do this, but I have no other choice. Today, I must take away the clear sky holy robe. Su Yun stood up, holding onto the imperial equipment tightly. He stared at the large number of experts rushing towards him and said, even if I offend the entire sword world, even if I become enemies with the entire sword world, I will not let go. As his voice fell, he roared, and a burst of devil chi soared into the sky. His eyes turned blood red, as if some strange power had shot out from his body into the sky and scattered in all directions. Howl! A melodious roar resounded throughout the entire mighty Sword Valley. Immediately after, an incomparably huge and terrifying giant that seemed to be able to support the sky appeared in the center of the mighty Sword Valley. This giant was abnormally large. Its body was like a continent, its arms were like a mountain range, its head was like the sun and moon, and its legs were like the pillars of the heavens. The entire mighty Sword Valley was like a ravine beneath its feet. Seeing that, countless spirit cultivators' hearts jumped. Devil-Bone's spirit. The red-robed man's expression changed slightly, but he couldn't worry too much about it at the moment. He approached Su Yun. His finger moved slightly, and a green light appeared between his fingers. This light seemed to contain an extremely terrifying corrosive aura, and actually corroded all of the profound chi and devil chi that Su Yun's entire body was emitting. The chi barrier released by the 7th-tier Imperial equipment also suffered an unprecedented attack, and quickly became thinner and dimmer. The destruction caused by the green light was comparable to the attack of a second-stage Spirit Emperor. Seeing that, Su Yun frowned. He did not continue to run. Although his speed was very fast, the other party had too many people and countless magic treasures. Blindly running like this was not a solution. Since he couldn't escape, then he might as well follow his own plan. He took a deep breath and picked up the clear sky holy robe. His eyes carefully sized up this treasure robe. Following that, he took out a strange stone from his storage ring. It was a stone obtained from the evil sword forest. It was a beautiful stone. When the stone appeared, the clear sky holy robe immediately released a burst of 7-colored light, like a colorful sun. It emitted a dazzling light in all directions. The red-robed man stopped. The experts that were rushing towards Su Yun also stopped. Everyone stared blankly at the divine stone, watching it slowly move towards the clear sky holy robe. For some reason, everyone had the urge to bow down and worship it. Clear sky stone? It's the clear sky stone. The mighty Sword Valley Lord who had escaped from the Devil-Bone spirit and was rushing over looked over. When he saw the stone in Su Yun's hand, he immediately shouted out loud, "Valley Master, the divine stone is in that person's hands. He's finally appeared. The person who stole the divine stone and killed the young master must be this person. Valley Master, let's do it." The eyes of the people from the mighty Sword Valley turned red as they shouted excitedly and angrily. The mighty Sword Valley Lord had also lost his mind at the moment. He stared at Su Yun and gasped for breath. Everything was as Su Yun had thought. The reason why he held this hero's duel of the sword was to lure out the person who stole the divine stone. Without the divine stone, the power of the clear sky holy robe would be greatly reduced, and without the clear sky holy robe, the clear sky stone would only be a stone of some use, unable to unleash much power. Therefore, the person who stole the divine stone would definitely come. And the person the mighty Sword Valley Lord was waiting for was the person who stole the divine stone. "Release the signal." The head of the mighty Sword Valley growled. "Yes, sir." As the sound of his voice faded, a blue light shot into the sky and exploded, spitting out countless amounts of thick fog that covered the entire sky like clouds. Whiz, 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 whiz. In almost an instant, countless fully armed people from the mighty Sword Valley rushed out from all around the mighty Sword Valley. Upon closer inspection, tens of thousands of people covered the sky and covered the earth. They were all rushing towards this place with murderous intent, like hungry wild beasts. The sudden appearance of so many people from the mighty Sword Valley had truly frightened the spirit cultivator that came from all over the place. These people had been arranged beforehand. The head of the mighty Sword Valley raised his sword and shouted, "Everyone do not panic. For such a thief to appear in this hero's duel of the sword, it is not what you and I wish for. I hereby announce that the hero's duel of the sword will temporarily stop." With that, the head of the mighty Sword Valley pointed his sword at Su Yun and shouted, "Capture this person and take back the clear sky, holy robe, and divine stone." "Yes, sir." 10,000 people roared and moved together. crashing toward Su Yun like raindrops. Chapter 722. Groups of people dressed in white robes with golden dragon patterns stepped through the gate of the True Devil Realm and entered the True Devil Realm. The seal on the True Devil Realm's gate was destroyed, and all the Devil Cultivators that were active around the True Devil Realm's gate were killed by these sudden intruders. Wherever they passed, no one survived. The leader was a white-haired, handsome man. The man held a horsetail whisk and wore a long robe, but his eyes were exceptionally fierce. He looked around and then bellowed, "Let's go to the True Devil Sect first and wait 300 miles away from the True Devil Sect. When the Saint of my Supreme Sect descends, we will follow the Saint to punish the True Devil Sect." "Yes, sir," the surrounding Supreme Sect people shouted excitedly. "Then, let's begin the Holy War." The white-haired man waved his horsetail whisk. The Supreme Sect people were like bees that had left their nest, scurrying into the distance. One after another, snow-white figures streaked across the sky, looking exceptionally spectacular, like a group of meteors flying across the night sky. Whoosh! At this moment, a gust of cold wind suddenly blew over. The cold wind was extremely cold and strange. It actually blew from all directions, with this place as the center. The scattered Supreme Sect people were all forcefully blown back by the cold wind. There was an enemy. The white-haired man waved his horsetail whisk in the air and released a signal spell. The spell flew into the air and exploded, transforming into bright lines that reminded everyone. The surrounding Greater One Sect disciples quickly gathered around him. When the Supreme Sect disciples quickly gathered, the cold wind also became more violent. A strange yet oppressive feeling rose in everyone's heart, as if someone had suddenly clasped their hearts at this moment. A large amount of dense and pitch-black clouds quickly floated over from afar. The black mist was especially thick, and within the black mist, there was a berserk and oppressive devil chi. The pitch-black clouds seemed to have blocked the last bit of light in the True Devil Realm, and everyone's line of sight was completely pitch-black. But the ruthless devil chi actually covered the line of sight of the Sky Spirit Masteress, causing them to be unable to see their fingers. The white-haired man looked around with a serious expression, then swung his horsetail whisk and shouted, "Who are you?" "The person you're looking for." A light laugh came from the clouds. Then, a figure flew out from the clouds. The white-haired man looked over. This person was thin, his skin was pale, and his appearance was young. He was the famous vice-sect leader of the True Devil Sect. Chi, it was you. He narrowed his eyes. "You guys are quite bold to actually dare to come to my True Devil Realm." What? "Do you Supreme Sect people want to come to the True Devil Realm to preach?" Octagon Aniseed chuckled. The white-haired man's expression did not change, but his tone was cold. "We are under the orders of the Holy Maiden to punish the sinner and wage a holy war against the people abandoned by the Supreme Divine Tao." "Sanction? Holy war?" Octagon Aniseed descended from the sky and stepped on the ice-cold ground, walking towards the man step by step. "With just you guys? You want to make a move on our True Devil Sect? Aren't you overestimating your own capabilities?" He spoke in a low voice, and as he spoke, his voice grew softer. When these words came out, the clouds in the sky gradually dispersed, and one figure after another appeared in the line of sight of the Supreme Sect people. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that it was not a black cloud, but an uncountable number of Devil Cultivator. They stepped on the dark clouds and stood in the air, glaring at them like tigers watching their prey. Their blood-red eyes were even more terrifying than ferocious beasts, even more terrifying than evil spirits. There were so many of them that they blotted out the sky and covered the earth like locusts. The entire sky was covered. 1,000,000 people. The Devil Cultivator in their line of sight definitely numbered in the millions, and this did not include the Devil Cultivator that they could not see. So many Devil Cultivator. Did the True Devil Sect come out in full force? Pudong, Pudong, Pudong. Seeing the Devil Cultivator in the sky, every single Supreme Sect person's heart could not help but beat faster. The white-haired man's expression was abnormally ugly. He tried his best to chant the supreme divine Tao in his heart, trying his best to stabilize his mind, not allowing it to be destroyed by this sudden fear. However, this fear was too strong. So many devil cultivator. It was too rare, and the strength of these devil cultivators were all extremely terrifying. None of them were ordinary people. The waves of demonic pressure, the dense devil chi, were like sledgehammers, striking the hearts of the supreme sect people, attacking their sacred and inviolable psychological defenses. The bodies of the supreme sect people started to tremble. It was not that their minds were not firm enough, or that their faith in the supreme divine Tao was not firm enough, but that their bodies were limited and their spirits were limited. Facing such a terrifying devil intent, it was already amazing that they did not collapse on the spot, but facing so many devil cultivators, it was only a matter of time before they collapsed. Is this the devil? Even in front of the so-called God, they still had their own unique domain, their own unique arrogance. Kill them all. Octagon Aniseed didn't seem to want to waste time. He looked at the white-haired man and waved his hand. Then he turned and left. His words were light and breezy, but it was like a judge giving the final sentence to these people. But after he said that, the devil cultivator in the air rushed toward the supreme sect people like a flood that had been released from the floodgates. The devil pressure increased explosively once again, and it was exceptionally brutal. It was arrogant and thick, causing these people to prostrate on the ground, unable to stand up at all. The white-haired man's pupils dilated. He realized that the supreme divine Tao in his heart had been completely destroyed, and he had lost all ability to resist. The people of the mighty Sword Valley that were rushing towards him gave Su Yun a lot of pressure. He secretly clenched his teeth and stuffed the divine stone into the clear sky holy robe in his hands. In an instant, the seven-colored light released by the clear sky holy robe became even stronger. However, at the same time, Su Yun was also surrounded by the people of the mighty Sword Valley. It was no longer possible for him to rush out of the dense crowd. For this operation, the mighty Sword Valley Lord had put in a lot of effort. Not only had he gathered all the people from the mighty Sword Valley, he had even summoned back all the experts who were out on missions, just to take back the lost divine stone. Kill. At this moment, waves of wild shouts suddenly floated over from outside the mighty Sword Valley. Countless figures came out from the shadows. All of them held large swords in their hands. Their movements were grand, and their sword chi was exceptionally tyrannical. It was the people of the barbarian Quicksand. A large number of disciples of the barbarian Quicksand raised their swords and rushed over without a care for their own safety. When they approached the people of the mighty Sword Valley, they actually drew their swords and faced them. When the mighty Sword Valley Lord saw this, his expression changed drastically. He turned his head and saw the one-eyed barbarian's sword accompanying a middle-aged man with yellow hair and a yellow beard. Barbarian Quicksand. What are you doing? The mighty Sword Valley Lord roared. What are you doing? The Lord of the Barbarian Quicksand laughed coldly. Of course, it's to take the clear sky holy robe. Old Valley Master, this clear sky holy robe has been your mighty Sword Valley for so long. It's time to hand it over to someone else for safekeeping. After he finished speaking, he pulled out a waxy yellow great sword and rushed towards the mighty Sword Valley Lord. Are you guys going to learn from this guy and break the rules of the hero's discourse of the sword and be scolded by the people of the sword world? The mighty Sword Valley Lord was both angry and angry as he roared loudly. I don't care. If I can obtain the clear sky holy robe, who would I be afraid of? Who am I afraid of? What's there to be afraid of when it comes to mere words? Chestnut Sand growled as he raised his sword and slashed. Seeing that, the mighty Sword Valley Lord had no choice but to take action. Su Yin was able to catch his breath. The mighty Sword Valley Lord understood the current situation. If he was held back by Chestnut Sand, then Su Yin would definitely escape again. He immediately used all his strength to shout. Everyone! The barbarian Quicksand had already teamed up with the thief who stole the clear sky holy robe to seize the divine object together. My mighty Sword Valley is irreconcilable with him. If all of you are heroes of the sword world, please quickly follow this old man to subdue Chestnut Sand exterminate barbarian quicksand and that thief, and take back the clear sky holy robe. When these words spread, the spirit cultivator-s who were still entangled with the devil-bone spirit immediately regained their senses. Seeing that the barbarian quicksand and the people of the mighty Sword Valley were fighting, they rushed over to help. However, many of the people who had just gotten close to the barbarian quicksand were like dead birds. One by one, they fell from the sky and smashed onto the ground, unable to move. Seeing this scene, the heart of the mighty Sword Valley Lord suddenly jumped a few times. He knocked away the sand with his sword and asked in shock, "What's going on? What technique did you use?" "Technique? This isn't a technique. It's just feeding these idiots some medicine in advance." Chestnut Sand laughed out loud. "In order to obtain the clear sky holy robe, I have prepared for a long time. Today, no matter who it is, they will not be able to stop me from obtaining the clear sky holy robe. Old Valley Master, it's impossible for you to defeat me. You should just obediently give up." "Ha ha." With that, Chestnut Sand once again raised his sword and charged towards the Old Valley Master. As for the one-eyed barbarian's sword, it directly rushed towards Su Yun and snatched the clear sky holy robe from Su Yun's hands. "Yellow sword, blue sword, seize the clear sky holy robe. Do not let the people of the barbarian quicksand succeed," the mighty Sword Valley Lord shouted as he blocked Chestnut Sand's storm-like attacks. "Yes, Valley Master." Two figures rushed out from the crowd of the mighty Sword Valley. One was dressed in a yellow robe. The other was dressed in a blue robe. The two of them worked together to attack Su Yun, and when they got close to their target, the two of them held onto their swords and danced in the air. The swords released specks of resplendent sword chi, and like raindrops, they struck the vegetation and rocks in all directions. In an instant, the vegetation and rocks moved. The stone flew up on its own, pouncing towards Su Yun like a fierce tiger, while the plants extended endlessly, wrapping around Su Yun like tentacles. All the plants in the mountains and plains came to life and attacked Su Yun. These were all set up by the people of the mighty Sword Valley. Even if they were used for defense, it would still have a good effect on Su Yun. It was just that, at this moment, Su Yun did not plan to escape. He kept his imperial equipment and cut off the profound Chi's transmission to the devil bone spirit in the distance. At this moment, all of his profound strength was only used to do one thing. That was to wear this colorful divine object, the clear sky holy robe on his body. The one-eyed barbarian's sword pressed forward, and the yellow and blue swords were not willing to fall behind, attacking from the front and back. He was surrounded by the people of the mighty Sword Valley and the people of the barbarian quicksand. Su Yun was like a wingless eagle, unable to escape. He took a deep breath, stared at the divine robe, and then put it on his body. Crash. Almost at the same time, the rainbow-colored light immediately dimmed. At the same time, the clear sky holy robe also disappeared, and Su Yun's entire body was still covered in that pitch-black cloak. Chapter 723. What a wonderful feeling. This is... A strange change emerged in Su Yun's heart, a change that was difficult to express. He felt as if something had enveloped his body, enveloping his internal organs, chi, meridian, spirit core, bones, tendons, and so on. It was as if every piece of flesh and every drop of blood in his body was wearing a weightless set of clothes. A sense of security that made people trust him appeared in his heart, and it was active in every corner of his body. Was this the feeling of wearing the clear sky holy robe? Although he could not see its appearance, Su Yun could feel that he was indeed wearing it. Stinking brat. Quickly hand over the clear sky holy robe. The one-eyed barbarian's sword growled. He pulled out his great sword and slashed at Su Yun. Su Yun wanted to dodge, but his feet were entangled by the unique vegetation in the Suicide Valley, causing him to struggle to dodge and his movements to slow down a bit. However, at this moment, he stopped and looked at the incoming greatsword. He took a deep breath and suddenly extended his hands to grab the greatsword. What? Su Yun's actions had truly shocked the burly man. Bare hands? He didn't even need a weapon? Is he looking down on me? It would be a lie if the one-eyed barbarian sword said that he wasn't angry. However, come on. A strange sound rang out. A scene that caused one's eyeballs to pop out appeared. That sharp and heavy greatsword was actually caught by Su Yun's hands. Two palms clamped onto the greatsword. He had caught the blade with his bare hands. The profound chi on the greatsword disappeared without a trace in an instant. Not only that, the sharpness of the greatsword itself had also disappeared. Su Yun felt that what he was holding was like a rusty piece of iron, without any power or sharpness. He was startled for a moment and realized that the profound strength in his body had strangely increased a little. Although it was only a very small amount, Su Yun could clearly feel it. He slapped away the one-eyed barbarian sword's greatsword, and with a shake of his right hand, he pulled out the death sword. The devil chi wrapped around the sword and pierced towards his opponent. Uft! The one-eyed barbarian's sword's chest was pierced through. The devil chi instantly spread out, covering his entire body. The tyrannical, profound strength was like a sharp claw, tearing his body apart. The ruthless aura raged like a violent storm. The one-eyed barbarian's sword's body collapsed, and it died on the spot. Su Yun was completely unharmed. Such a scene shocked the world. Seeing that, Blue Sword and Yellow Sword looked at each other, seeing the shock in each other's eyes. They secretly exchanged glances, and then Yellow Sword advanced forward, Blue Sword stayed in place, dancing with the sword to control the surrounding vegetation and boulders, attacking Su Yun from the front and back, one from far and one from close. But at that moment, Su Yun was protected by the clear sky holy robe. How could he be afraid of the two of them? When the blue sword attacked, Su Yun raised his claws and grabbed at the man. The profound chi exploded, enveloping the blue sword and grabbed it. When he lifted it up, Su Yun was surprised to find that the profound chi on the blue sword had disappeared without a trace, and the profound chi in his body had recovered a little. What was going on? Su Yun did not think that he had such a miraculous ability. In the end, it must be the effect of the clear sky holy robe, devouring the opponent's profound energy and transferring a portion of it into his own body to replenish the profound energy he had expended. As Su Yun thought about it, his heart was beating wildly. If that was the case, then the clear sky holy robe was too heaven-defying. Let go of the blue sword. Seeing that his companion had been subdued by Su Yun, Huang Jian pulled out his sword and rushed forward. "Then who will let me go?" Su Yun roared. The death sword in his hand drew a sword flower, and without any hesitation, he chopped off the head of the blue sword in front of him. Blood spurted into the sky. Huang Jian was shocked. His opponent's vicious methods caused his heart to tremble, and a sense of fear assaulted his heart. What made him even more surprised was that Su Yun actually used a pair of bare hands to catch his opponent's sword. How could an ordinary person be able to do this? Bada! Su Yun threw the blue sword's corpse away and rushed towards the yellow sword again. There was no way to retreat, no way to dodge. Huang Jian could only raise his sword to kill. Su Yun did not dodge and slashed straight at him. Clang! Huang Jian's sword struck his chest as expected. The profound chi on the sword exploded like sparks, splashing in all directions, but it was unable to pierce through Su Yun's body at all. What was even more frightening was that the profound chi that shot out from the sword suddenly rushed into Su Yun's body when it was halfway through and quickly disappeared. The terrifying sword body turned into an extremely ordinary sword in the blink of an eye. At this moment, no matter if it was Su Yun or Huang Jian, they could all see it clearly. Is this the power of the clear sky holy robe? Huang Jian was stunned. Yes. The corner of Su Yun's mouth raised into a sinister smile. He raised his sword and slashed forward. Uft. Huang Jian died. In less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the two experts from the Mighty Sword Valley and the expert from the Barbarian Quicksand were all killed, and the three of them were unable to harm Su Yun in the slightest. With the 7th-tier Imperial equipment and the clear sky holy robe, Su Yun's defense was so strong that it made one's hair stand on end. Adding the Wanhua seed, his tenacious life force had probably surpassed the imagination of Spirit Cultivator of the same level. Seeing that Su Yun had taken care of all three of them, Chestnut Sand, who was fighting with the Mighty Sword Valley Lord, immediately became anxious and understood that this person was not easy to deal with. This child has obtained the clear sky holy robe. He is not easy to deal with. If the two of us continue to fight, no one will stop that fellow, and the treasure will fly away." Chestnut Sand shouted, "The one who wants to fight is you. I just want to take back what belongs to me." The old Valley Lord snorted, but he was not willing to fight with Chestnut Sand for too long. The two of them turned and rushed toward Su Yun. Su Yun had obtained the divine stone and had completely reassembled the clear sky holy robe. With the protection of the divine object, he was definitely not easy to deal with. The two of them attacked from the left and right, and the two swords that were glowing with a dazzling light collided with each other. It was especially terrifying. Su Yun did not fight head-on. He took out his sword and stepped on it to leave. "Don't leave!" The mighty Sword Valley Lord roared. He quickly shook the sword in his hand. The sword released waves of ear-piercing sword hums, swinging toward Su Yun. However, Su Yun did not notice it at all, and did not have the slightest reaction to the sword hums. Completely immune. What? The mighty Sword Valley Lord was stunned. In the end, the mighty Sword Valley's reputation is undeserved. "Just watch me." Chestnut Sand sneered, then took a deep breath, his stomach bulging. At the same time, he stabbed his sword into the ground, the profound strength in his body rolling in his abdomen. Following that, Chestnut Sand spat out all the air in his stomach, which immediately turned into a chi dragon and struck towards Su Yun. At the same time, his sword moved, causing the sand to explode and being sucked into the chi dragon. The chi dragon then turned into a sand dragon, sweeping up the yellow sand. The sand dragon danced in the sky and earth. It was a magnificent scene. Facing such a terrifying attack, Su Yun actually ignored it and continued to ride his sword forward. He did not attack and did not even take any defensive measures, allowing the sand dragon to crash into him. Seeing that, Chestnut Sand's eyes narrowed. He felt that something was wrong. Bang! The sand dragon struck Su Yun, and in less than a breath of time, it had completely devoured him. A mere 6-stage Sky Spirit Master existence. If I want to kill him, it will be as easy as flipping my hand. How can he escape from my palm? Chestnut Sand laughed complacently. With a tap of his feet, he transformed into a ray of yellow light and rushed towards the sand dragon in the air, wanting to snatch the clear sky holy robe. However, just as he got close to the sand dragon, a large number of flying swords suddenly rushed out from the yellow sand that filled the sky and slashed towards his body. Chestnut Sand was caught off guard and was struck by a large number of flying swords. A large number of sword scars covered his body and blood flowed out. Chestnut Sand was stunned. Before he could react, a pale white hand suddenly extended out from the yellow sand and grabbed his neck. When the palm came into contact with his neck, Chestnut Sand was shocked to discover that the profound chi in his body was flowing away at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, the profound chi in his body had disappeared without a trace, and he had also lost his strength. What's going on? Chestnut Sand's tongue was tied as his entire body trembled violently. His eyes were as wide as a cow's as he stared at the figure in the yellow sand. No one answered him. The only thing that responded to him was a pitch-black sword. Oofed! Chestnut Sand's head was chopped off, and his head was grabbed tightly by the big hand. His corpse broke apart and fell to the ground. The headless corpse slowly fell from the sky, accompanied by boiling hot blood, and fell onto the ice-cold ground. In the distance, the old Valley Master of the mighty Sword Valley was stunned. The old Valley Master who had fought with him before naturally knew what cultivation level Chestnut Sand was at. However, the other party had actually killed Chestnut Sand in just a few exchanges. It was enough to show that the person who obtained the clear sky holy robe had become exceptionally terrifying. If he were to go up, he would probably die a miserable death. Immediately, the mighty Sword Valley Lord anxiously retreated, not daring to stop Su Yun. Since the mighty Sword Valley Lord had given up on the chase, no one could stop Su Yun from leaving. He drove the death sword, and like a rainbow piercing through the sun, he flew straight into the sky. In the blink of an eye, he had escaped the range of the mighty Sword Valley, bringing the clear sky holy robe far away. With the clear sky holy robe taken away, there was no point in fighting in the mighty Sword Valley. Seeing that Su Yun had left, the Sword Lord found an excuse and left with the disciples of the Cloud Heavenly Palace. Since the clear sky holy robe was obtained by Su Yun, it was impossible for him to snatch Su Yun's things, so he could only leave with hatred in his heart. Su Yun did not give him any more instructions. If he did not leave, then when? Could it be that he still had to work for Su Yun? Many of the other greedy spirit cultivators still persistently chased after Su Yun, but they did not know that Su Yun, who was wearing the clear sky holy robe, was not someone they could contend against. After leaving the mighty Sword Valley, Su Yun followed his previous plan and rushed towards the Sword Stream. The Sword Stream was the only exit to leave the Sword World. It was quite a distance away from the mighty Sword Valley, but with Su Yun's speed, he believed that he would be able to reach it in a little more than a day. The matter of the mighty Sword Valley would quickly spread throughout the entire Sword World. The clear sky holy robe had been restored, and the news of it being stolen would also spread like wildfire. It was not good to stay here for long, so he could only leave quickly. However, after flying for a distance, Su Yun seemed to have thought of something. He immediately turned his head and flew in the opposite direction. From the looks of it, he did not plan to rush towards Jianxi. Chapter 724. The clear sky holy robe was in existence at the first stage of the Spirit Emperor, but when Su Yun, who was wearing the clear sky holy robe, touched it, his vast profound energy that was comparable to the heavens was actually completely absorbed by the holy robe, and he immediately became immortal. Such a terrifying power could only be possessed by a god, and it was because of this that Su Yun was able to easily kill Chestnut Sand. However, such a terrifying divine object had experienced a calamity. The divine stone had been taken away by a thief, and the divine object had been forcefully decomposed. Su Yun did not think that the venerable Sword Valley's Valley Master was an idiot, so it could only be said that the person who stole the clear sky holy robe was definitely not an ordinary person. However, in the previous hero's duel of the sword, none of the people who appeared matched the person who stole the clear sky holy robe. It was impossible for Long Guangzhong, impossible for Lu Xiao, and even more impossible for Qin Hong San. And during the battle, there were no extraordinary supreme expert obstructing them. From this, it could be seen that those thieves who stole the clear sky holy robe did not enter the mighty Sword Valley. These people would definitely come, since they had seized the divine stone. How could they not want the clear sky holy robe? Although the divine level stone had somehow ended up in Su Yun's hands, they would definitely not give up just like that. Therefore, Su Yun guessed that the people who barged into the mighty Sword Valley to seize the clear sky holy robe were most likely waiting outside the mighty Sword Valley. They were powerless to fight against the group of heroes in the mighty Sword Valley, so they planned to wait outside. After Su Yun left the mighty Sword Valley, he inadvertently sensed that there were no living beings within a 100-mile radius of the valley. However, there were still some profound qis that had yet to dissipate in the air, so he guessed that there was an ambush outside the valley. If I was one of those thieves who stole the clear sky holy robe, even if I did not plan to enter the valley, I would definitely send my spies to the valley, who stole the clear sky holy robe, and what they would do after obtaining it. I would have to understand it clearly so that I can be on guard. Su Yun thought, I am not a member of any sect. I'm not a rogue cultivator. I am an outsider. After obtaining the clear sky holy robe, it is impossible for me to stay in the Sword World. So leaving the Sword World is the safest choice. Those thieves will definitely think of this, so it is very likely that they will set up an ambush on the way to Jianxi. If Su Yun continued to rush in the direction of Jianxi, there was at least a 60% chance that he would be ambushed. For the sake of safety, he could only change his route. Su Yun ran in the opposite direction, planning to go around the origin pool in the east and follow the sea route to Jianxi. However, he hadn't flown for long when a large amount of oppressive, profound energy suddenly rose from all directions with him as the center. Someone was there. Su Yun's heart tightened, and he immediately stopped. Just as he stopped, a large amount of sword qi shot out from all directions. The sword qi was multicolored, each containing elemental power. There was an ice-colored sword chi, a fire-colored sword chi, and even a sword chi that was filled with poison. They were like sharp arrows, with Su Yun as the center, constantly striking. Bang, 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 bang. An explosion sounded out. The void trembled. The green clouds above Su Yun were scattered. The ground below him was smashed into pieces. It was extremely terrifying. After the dust settled, Su Yun's body once again appeared. Without any surprises, his body was still unharmed. No matter how sharp the sword chi was, it could not leave any damage on his body. That's right. Not bad. In the end, it was the clear sky holy robe. It was indeed a divine object. Only an immortal god would be worthy of such a defensive power. Ha! Just then, a laugh suddenly floated out from the void. Following that, more than 10 spirit cultivator S appeared out of thin air, surrounding Su Yun in a circle. The leader was a young master dressed in a green patterned blue robe. He looked to be in his 20s, holding a bright and slender sword in his hand, standing in the air. Looking at his face, Su Yun felt that he was familiar, and after looking at him carefully, he was shocked to realize that he was actually very similar to the old Valley Master of the Mighty Sword Valley. "You are from the Mighty Sword Valley?" Su Yun suddenly asked. Hearing that, the young master was surprised and laughed. "Not bad. You actually saw that I am from the Mighty Sword Valley? I have even taken off my identity medallion. How do you know that I am from the Mighty Sword Valley? Your appearance is quite similar to that of the Mighty Sword Valley Master. Your relationship with the old Valley Master should not be shallow, right?" Su Yun's eyes were incomparably calm. "Our relationship is indeed not shallow." The young master laughed. "I am his son. How could this relationship be simple?" "Huh. You are the son of the old Valley Master?" Hearing that, Su Yun's eyes flashed with astonishment. "Didn't you die? Could it be that you are faking your death?" Su Yun seemed to have thought of something, and his face immediately became serious. The son of the Valley Master was not dead, and now that he had appeared here, could it be? The young master seemed to have seen that Su Yun had understood and admitted it generously. "It is as you think. I am indeed faking my death. Even my father does not know about this. It seems like the chaos in the Mighty Sword Valley and the matter of the clear sky holy robe being taken away was all planned by you, right?" Su Yun said indifferently. "After I obtained the clear sky holy robe, I felt that it was strange. How could such a terrifying holy robe be taken away so easily? The Mighty Sword Valley Lord's cultivation was not ordinary. With the Saint Robe, his strength had increased explosively. The existence of the Spirit Emperor would not be able to do anything to him. Then how did he lose his Saint Robe? Now I understand. It's hard to guard against thieves day and night. That old bastard is guarding the Saint Robe, but he doesn't know how to use it to raise his cultivation and seize treasures. What a waste of this divine object. If this divine object is in my hands, I will definitely be able to raise the strength of the Mighty Sword Valley to another level. Let the entire sword world look up to me. I have warned him time and time again to make good use of this divine object, but Nair has always turned a deaf ear to it. In that case, I can only control this divine object myself. How did you think of coming here to guard me?" Su Yun asked again. According to his thoughts, this guy should be lying in ambush at the place that led to Jianxi. The young master laughed out loud. "Originally, I also thought that you would head towards Jianxi, so I laid an ambush there, but unexpectedly, you suddenly went in the opposite direction, so I used the Mighty Sword Valley's transmission array to come here first. Brat, you seem to have forgotten, although this is not the Mighty Sword Valley, it is still beside the Mighty Sword Valley." So that's how it is. Then, have you thought about how to take the clear sky holy robe from me?" Su Yun made his move. A few bolts of lightning rose into the sky. Following that, a few devil bone giants appeared behind him. This place was quite a distance away from the Mighty Sword Valley, so the people from the Mighty Sword Valley would not rush here in a short period of time. The young master's gaze fell on the few gigantic devil bone giants behind Su Yun. He looked at them for a while, then nodded. "True Devil Realm people. So that's how it is." Although I do not know what grade these puppet equipment are, I feel that they should not be a match for my subordinates, right? After he finished speaking, the young master did not want to continue talking nonsense. He raised his hand and waved it lightly. Take back the saint robe. Yes, young master. The surrounding spirit cultivator all shouted in unison and then moved. They did not rush towards Su Yun, but instead pulled out the swords at their waists, activated the profound chi in an orderly manner, and then waved at Su Yun. To be more precise, they waved at the devil bone giant behind Su Yun. At this moment, everyone's aura revealed a bone-piercing cold aura. They were all frigid aqua spirit chi. Su Yun frowned. It was too late to dodge. He could only take it head-on. The divine power of the clear sky holy robe was activated once again, and the frigid aqua spirit chi that was approaching Su Yun completely dissipated, disappearing without a trace. But the other frigid aqua spirit chi all struck the devil bone giant behind Su Yun. The devil bone giant's huge bodies immediately turned into ice and were completely sealed. Su Yun turned his head and looked at the few gigantic ice sculptures behind him. The young master chuckled and said, "Using 10,000 years old ice powder as a catalyst to activate the ice profound energy is indeed extraordinary." Devil Dweller, what did I say just now? These puppets of yours are no match for my subordinates, right? That's not necessarily true. Su Yun said expressionlessly, and then snapped his fingers. Pow! As if some order had crashed into the heads of these giants, the ice sculptures started to shake violently. Cracks appeared on the sparkling and translucent ice, and then they started to peel off one by one. The roars of the giants resounded through the sky. Following that, the giants once again combined, turning into a devil bone spirit that could support the heavens and the earth. A fist that was as heavy as Mount Tai smashed towards the young master. The ground cracked from the impact of the fist, and the stones and trees on the ground were all turned to dust. However, this young valley master from the mighty Sword Valley was not alarmed in the face of danger. He raised his sword and looked at Su Yun, without the slightest bit of panic on his face. As the fist came smashing over, 7 gigantic light swords extended out from the side, directly blocking the descending fist. These 7 light swords came from the 7 spirit cultivators around the young valley master. The 7 of them seemed to have formed a sword formation. The long sword in their hands transformed into a gigantic light sword. The power was extremely shocking, forcefully blocking the devil bone spirit's fist. Following that, the light sword released a cold light, and a wave of ice energy spread out once again, freezing the devil bone spirit's huge fist. Is that all? The young master smiled lightly, then suddenly waved his arm, and the sword moved along with his arm. Clang! A strange power burst forth from the translucent sword. This power could not be seen with the naked eye, and one could only feel a strange aura similar to space. This power came from the void and actually distorted the void. However, the power that distorted the void approached Su Yun, but it was still unable to break through the divine power of the clear sky holy robe. Just as it approached, it was completely devoured by the divine power. But when the young master saw this, he still persevered and continued to brandish his sword, releasing this strange power that distorted the void. Even if this power was purified by the clear sky holy robe, he did not care. Seeing that, Su Yun felt that something was wrong. A golden light flashed past his eyes. He leaped up and flew into the sky, landing beside the devil bone spirit. The profound strength was injected into the heroic spirit's body, and the heroic spirit waved its arm, shattering all the ice on its arm, and continued to attack the young master. The devil bone spirit restrained the young master, while Su Yun took the opportunity to check his own condition. After a round, there was nothing strange about his body. However, a strange place caught his attention. Unbeknownst to him, there were a few balls that were hard to see with the naked eye floating in the air around him. These balls had no color, and their shapes were hard to detect. Other than judging by the minute movements they made when they rotated, there was no way to determine their existence. This thing shouldn't have existed before. Could it be related to the young Valley Master? Just as Su Yun was thinking, the young Valley Master rushed over again. A single person with a single sword rushed straight for the Devil Bone Spirit's shoulder. Chapter 725. Approaching Su Yun, the young master once again swung his sword. The power that distorted the void struck towards him again, but when it got close, it dissipated. This time, Su Yun paid attention and carefully observed the almost transparent and invisible ball around him. As expected, although the power of the void distortion could be purified by the clear sky holy robe, the strange ball of power that it brought with it could not be purified. These balls seemed to be substantial magic treasure, and when the young Valley Master attacked, he deliberately mixed them together. The clear sky holy robe could absorb the profound strength, but it could not directly destroy the real thing. If a person got close to Su Yun, he would not be able to use the clear sky holy robe to destroy the other party. Su Yun did not dare to give the other party too many chances to make a sneak attack. He once again urged the Devil Bone Spirit to retreat, increasing the distance between him and the young master. These strange spheres gathered more and more, giving him an indescribable feeling of palpitation. The young master seemed to feel that it was about time. His fingers moved slightly. Puff, 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 puff. Those spheres immediately exploded like bubbles bursting, giving off bursts of sounds that were neither light nor heavy. Su Yun's body swayed a few times. He regained his senses and looked around. He was shocked to discover that other than the limitless sword sheath and the divine swords, most of the magic treasurettes had lost their connection with him. Even the connection between the clear sky holy robe and him had been forcefully severed. So that was how it was. In order to deal with the clear sky holy robe, I have prepared for an entire 10 years and spent a great deal of effort to collect 30 seeds of the subhoodie tree to refine these breath-severing pills. The last time I dealt with my father, I used 20 breath-severing pills and forcefully peeled the clear sky holy robe off my father's body. This time, it's your turn. The young master sneered. With a step, he rushed toward Su Yun and unleashed a torrential barrage of attacks. After losing the protection of the clear sky holy robe, the young master thought that it was more than enough to deal with Su Yun. After all, in his eyes, he was only dealing with an existence at the 6th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, while he was at the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Killing the other party was as easy as flipping his hand. For Su Yun to be able to hold on until here, wasn't it because of the clear sky holy robe? Without the protection of this divine object, what else could he do to resist? However, what happened next gave the young master a huge shock. Su Yun did not reveal much panic, but was instead extremely calm. His eyes suddenly turned blood red, his entire body releasing demonic chi. He raised the death sword and slashed. A large number of sword images surged on the sword's body. The young master was simply frightened. He immediately changed his attack to defense, hastily blocking. Clang! The death sword smashed onto the young master's bright sword, causing his arm to go numb. He retreated a few steps, almost falling off Devil Bone Spirit's shoulder, but before he could stabilize himself, a black lightning flashed in front of his eyes. Poochie! The young master felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. He looked down and saw that his opponent's sword had actually pierced through him. So fast. And how could this sword be so sharp? Was his body-protecting chi fake? The young master's eyes widened a little. For a 6th-stage Sky Spirit Master to cross 3 stages to attack a 9th-stage Sky Spirit Master Cultivator, the difficulty was as high as ascending to the heavens. After all, there was a difference of 3 stages, and the strength of the profound chi between the two was different. With the strength of a 6th-stage cultivator, it was simply impossible to break through a 9th-stage cultivator's profound chi defense. But not only did this fellow break through it, it seemed to be extremely easy. In an instant, the young master understood. Even without the clear sky holy robe, this fellow was not a simple person. Previously, when he exchanged blows with him, he was simply familiarizing himself with the clear sky holy robe. He did not even use any strength. He had never been serious. Thinking of this, the young master broke out in a cold sweat. This person, just who was he? He anxiously struck out with his palm towards the death sword. Receiving the impact of the attack, he bounced himself away, pulled away from Su Yun, and then waved his sword at him again. Clang! Clang! Every time the sword descended, a strange power that distorted the void would burst out from the sword blade, crashing towards Su Yun like a ferocious beast. Feeling that he was not as good as Su Yun in close combat, the young master planned to defeat him from afar. Su Yun looked at the young master, raised his arm again, and casually waved his sword. However, this sword strike was like the wail of ghosts and the howl of gods. The sword landed on the ground, and a demonic wind shot out from the blade, bringing with it a roar that tore through the sky as it blew towards the young master. As it approached, the demonic wind split apart, transforming into over 1,000 demonic tigers that pounced forward. Bang! The young master's body flew out once again and directly fell down, smashing into the ground and creating a huge pit. The surface of his skin cracked open, blood flowed out, and the profound chi in his body also leaked out from the cracks. He staggered as he tried to get up, but before he could stand up straight, he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was obvious that he was injured. Su Yin put on the clear sky holy robe again, glanced at the people from the mighty Sword Valley who were fighting with the Devil Bone spirit, then looked at the young master, and with a tap of his feet, he descended. Fear flashed past the young master's eyes. He looked at Su Yun, who was descending from the sky, and anxiously roared, "Stop, Devil Cultivator! The clear sky holy robe is yours. Don't kill me! Don't kill me!" However, his loud shout did not cause the other party to hesitate in the slightest. That person's blood-red eyes were filled with a cold, killing intent. He held his sword with one hand and pointed it downwards, aiming at the young master's head and thrusting it forward. The tip of the sword pierced through his head, and the young master's body trembled, then went limp. When the soul overflowed, Su Yun did not hold back. He raised his sword and destroyed the soul. He didn't show any mercy at all. After killing this young master, Su Yun's feet tapped on the ground again, and he returned to Devil Bone's spirit's shoulder. Looking at the people from the mighty Sword Valley who were still fighting with the heroic spirits, he did not waste any more time and activated his Imperial Sword technique, cooperating with the Devil Bone spirit to kill them. With the death of a young master, these people's hearts were already cold. Facing Su Yun's full strength, they could not hold on at all, and did not even have the chance to escape before their bodies were pierced through by the flying sword. After taking care of these people, Su Yun grabbed the space bag on the young master's waist and urged the Devil Bone spirit to rush forward. Su Yun was familiarizing himself with the performance of the clear sky holy robe, but in fact, it was not difficult for Su Yun to kill this young master. He possessed the Lotus Star sword art, Divine Wind sword art, Limitless sword arts, and had also received the bitter training of the true devil sect. With the help of the devil chi, the profound chi was dense, and his strength was no longer a simple 6-stage sky spirit master cultivator. After running for an unknown period of time, Su Yun's heart trembled, and an extremely dense chi came from behind him. Sensing this heavy chi, Su Yun immediately knew that a supreme expert had arrived. Furthermore, the strength of this supreme expert far surpassed that of the mighty Sword Valley Lord in Chestnut Sand. Perhaps he could fight against the wicked Ghost King in the Wanhua realm back then. Although Su Yun had fought continuously, because of the clear sky holy robe, the profound chi in his body had received a lot of replenishment. After killing the young master's subordinates, the profound chi had also received a small recovery. Right now, fighting against the supreme expert with all his might was not a problem. It was just that the supreme expert was not alone. There were probably tens of thousands, or even close to 100,000 spirit cultivator approaching. There was only one goal for these people: the clear sky holy robe. He could not fight against so many experts of the sword world by himself, so Su Yun did not hesitate and left at full speed. However, the other party was in hot pursuit. After running for 2 days and 2 nights, the spirit cultivator still did not give up. After crossing the mountains and rivers, the other party was still closing in. If not for Su Yun's profound qi being dense and using it to travel, he would have most likely been caught up. If this continued, it would not be a solution. If there were other spirit cultivator who coveted the clear sky holy robe, not to mention seizing the holy robe, even if they were to stall him, the consequences would be severe. Su Yun looked around. The sun was high in the sky, and the river was flowing rapidly beside him. This is? Su Yun was startled. He suddenly thought of something, and immediately took out the map of the Dark Place's little demon canvas, and looked at it. Not bad indeed. This is the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain. After going around this mountain, we will be able to reach Jianxi. Su Yun was overjoyed. He anxiously rushed towards Jianxi. As he approached the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, he did not dare to directly enter the mountain. Instead, he chose to take a detour. Anyone who had come to the Sword World would have heard of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain. This was not an ordinary mountain, but a truly vicious mountain. It was said that 3,000 years ago, with the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain as the battlefield, a great battle of 100,000 spirit cultivator broke out here. At that time, the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain was especially vast. It could be said that it was a mountain range that connected the north and south, connecting the east and west. However, after that war broke out, the mountains were destroyed and the earth collapsed. It was said that the entire land of the Sword World had moved, and that battle was the famous Thousand Cloud Great War in the history of the Sword World. The Great Battle caused more than half of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain to be destroyed, leaving behind only a small portion. However, on top of the mountain were the corpses of the strongest 2,000 spirit cultivator-s. Their corpses and treasured swords were buried on top of the mountain. The evil aura emitted from the corpses, and the sword chi from the treasured swords covered the entire mountain. Ordinary people could not withstand this aura and would definitely die if they touched it. In these past few years, countless spirit cultivator had mistakenly entered the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain and died tragically. This person is escaping towards Jianxi. Quickly order people to seal off Jianxi. Don't let this person escape from the Sword World. Just then, a loud shout came out from behind Su Yun. Following that, the dense qi that had been forcing him increased its speed and approached him. Su Yun continued to move forward. With the clear sky holy robe, he was not afraid of any of that person's profound technique. However, the other party seemed to know the power of the clear sky holy robe and did not use his own profound qi. Instead, he used a magic treasure, transforming into a gigantic wall that landed in front of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain. The wall was materialized. The clear sky holy robe could dissolve any profound qi, but it could not eliminate anything that was materialized. Su Yun raised his sword and slashed at the wall, the sharp death sword piercing through the wall. However, his short delay gave the people behind him time. A large number of spirit cultivator-s rushed over in the time it took to take a breath. The leader was an old man dressed in a white robe with a white goatee. His eyes were suffused with a gold light as he stared at Su Yun and shouted, "Little kid, hand over the clear sky holy robe. This old man will spare your life." Su Yun did not say a word. With a light tap of his feet, he pushed open the wall and flew forward. The countless profound technique that came from behind him all dissipated when they neared him. The person wearing the clear sky holy robe could be said to be a complete pseudo-invincible. The profound qi was completely useless against it, other than fighting with his physical body, fighting with his strength. But how much damage could this bring to Su Yun? Halt! Just as the old man was watching Su Yun leave, in an extremely distant place, another large number of spirit cultivator appeared. These people suddenly appeared. There were thousands of them, forming a human wall that blocked Su Yun's path. Chapter 726. Empty. A group of hazy and blurry figures quietly approached the large sect encampment. When they approached the sect, everyone stopped in their tracks and looked into the distance. Vice sect leader, the other small sects have all been settled. The first sect has already sent people to our true devil sect, planning to discuss with us about joining hands to fight against the supreme sect. Everything is going smoothly. just as expected. Now we can see that it is empty. If we join hands to clear it, then the Supreme Sect will definitely lose miserably. The two demons beside him whispered, "Give up on that thought. They will not cooperate with us. At most, they will go deal with the Supreme Sect alone. They won't care about us." He removed the invisibility magic treasure from his body, found a tree, and sat down with his back against it. The two devils didn't say anything. They just looked at him strangely. "Vice Sect Leader, what should we do now?" Emptying is different from the previous sects. It's not easy to deal with them. There are many experts inside. Although we have possessed the bodies of the Supreme Sect people, if we cause trouble here, we will most likely die, and once we die, our souls will leak out, and they will definitely find out about our true devil sect's identity. At that time, our plan will be exposed. Standing Demon walked over and said. As soon as he finished speaking, he closed his eyes, as if in deep thought. The small sects were easy to deal with. They only needed to send a small group of people to disguise themselves as Supreme Sect people, pretend to be preaching, and then fight with them, forcing the other party into a hostile position. The power of the small sects could not keep the experts of the True Devil sect, but clearing them was different. This was not a small sect. The people of the True Devil sect used the possession to attach their souls to the bodies of the 20,000 Supreme Sect people, and would not be easily discovered, but if someone died, their souls would leak out, and the experts who had been cleared would definitely discover the existence of the True Devil sect. Without an exquisite plan, he could not act rashly, or else he would lose everything. Vice Sect Leader. Just then, the inner demon who was in the distance quickly ran over and whispered to Octagon Aniseed. News from the South Bay Realm. 9 months ago, the South Bay Realm gate suddenly closed, and after it opened again a month ago, our people sent a message not long ago, saying that the South Bay sect had been exterminated, the entire sect had been razed, and the South Bay Realm had become an ungoverned realm. Other than the Aborigines, there are only rogue cultivators left. What? The surrounding demonic Chi people exclaimed in shock. The South Bay Realm was not a small realm, and the South Bay sect was not something that the small sects that the True Devil sect had dealt with before could compare to. Although they were not as strong as the Supreme sect, they were still a sect with more than 200,000 people, and had some strength. Octagon Aniseed had formulated a series of plans to sow discord, listing out all the sects that could be used as enemies of the Supreme sect. Other than clearing them out, the last sect was the Southern Bay sect, but he didn't expect that before his people could even make a move, the Southern Bay sect would be gone. Was this a coincidence? The Southern Bay sect was one of the main forces to contend against the Greater One sect. Without the Southern Bay sect, the power of those small sects was too weak. Let's retreat for now. After an unknown period of time, he stood up and said, Retreat. Everyone was confused. The two devils said solemnly, Vice Sect Master, are you giving up on clearing it? The strength of emptiness is not something that a small sect can compare to. If we can successfully force emptiness to become enemies with the Supreme sect, then we will not have any worries. No matter what, please give it a try. You idiot, I didn't say that I would give up and empty it out. This is just a retreat. Octagon Aniseed snapped his fingers and said, The Southern Bay sect has been annihilated, and the power we expected to possess is far from enough. So we need to find a few more sects with decent strength and force them to the same battle line as us. Supreme sect has not given us enough time. It will be difficult to clear this place out in a short period of time. Our power cannot stay here forever. Establish the devil. Get rid of the inner demon. The two of you will stay here. Think of a way to empty out the Supreme sect. We will go to the other sects. With that, Octagon Aniseed took out 2 command medallions from his waist and handed them over to the two of them. Upon closer inspection, the command medallions were actually empty tokens. However, what surprised the two of them even more was Octagon Aniseed's words. Vice Sect Leader, you want the two of us to rebel and clear out? This. How can this be done? How could such a large sect be controlled by them? Sigh, there's nothing difficult in this world. Furthermore, it doesn't matter if you can't complete it. I won't blame you. Octagon Aniseed patted the shoulders of the two devil cultivator S and laughed. Furthermore, I've already made arrangements beforehand. There's an informant from our true devil sect in the emptiness realm. He will receive the two of you. Think of a way to sneak in and clear the emptiness realm. You don't need to get close to the emptiness realm expert. You only need to get close to another person. As long as you get rid of this person, there will be no problems. Which person? Great Clan Elder wants to be at ease. Ultimate martial world on the Immortal Island. The magnificent building stood in the center of the island. Spirit Cultivator S came and went in and out of the Immortal Island, and it was a scene of prosperity everywhere. The door to an exquisite building opened, and immortal chi blew out from the door. Following that, a young girl slowly walked out. The young girl was dressed in a light muslin dress. She had a head of pink hair, an exquisite appearance, and a tender face. She was especially cute. She let out a light breath, opened her bright eyes, and looked at the valiant-looking woman standing outside the door. Senior sister. The young lady, Shenghua Meiyang, smiled, called out, then jogged over and held on his Sun Xiangyin's hand. Sun Xiangyin patted Shenghua Meiyang's head and laughed. After 100 days of closed-door cultivation, did you gain anything? The spirit governing meridian has been opened, and the strength has transformed into reality. I believe that I will be able to step into the 4th stage of the Sky Spirit Master very soon. It's been hard on you, in a place like the Sky Martial Continent, where the spirit energy is sparse, to be able to have such a cultivation. If you were to cultivate in the ultimate martial world, I'm afraid your strength would be far greater than this. Sun Xiangyin sighed, looking a little regretful. Shenghua Meiyang shook her head. Senior sister, what you said is wrong. To me, it doesn't matter where I cultivate. Is that so? All right, senior sister, how is Qing? Just then, Shenghua Meiyang asked. That precious disciple of yours, what are you worried about? Sun Xiangyin shook her head and smiled. I estimate that after a period of time, you won't be her match. Oh, what is her current cultivation level? It's already close to the 6th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Shenghua Meiyang was shocked. So fast. She will only get faster and faster. Waves of emotion and praise surfaced on Sun Xiangyin's face. The body of a god is truly the body of a god. The further one cultivates, the faster one's cultivation speed will be, especially at this level. It is not something that ordinary spirit cultivator can compare to. Maybe in the future, a great paragon will rise up in all the realms, and the day of transcending the mortal world and entering the saint realm will be just around the corner. Hearing that, Shenghua Meiyang remained silent and said after a while, since that's the case, then Spirit Emperor, Spirit Sage, Spirit Immortal, Spirit Profound God. Isn't Qing going to enter these realms very soon? Is it a good thing for her to be able to cultivate so quickly? I can't say if it's good or not. What do you mean? Because of her divine spirit system. This system is very complicated. I don't understand it. You don't understand it either. The only one who truly understands this system will be Qing. Shenghua Meiyang seemed to understand something. She nodded her head in understanding and did not speak anymore. All right, the 10,000 realms have not been peaceful recently. Junior sister, if there's nothing important, try not to leave the kingdom of ZU. What happened? Shenghua Meiyang raised her head and asked. Sun Xiangyin fiddled with her short hair and smiled. It's not a big deal. The Supreme Sect and the True Devil Sect might start a large-scale conflict. I reckon that the surrounding powers and rogue cultivators will all be implicated, and the ultimate martial world will also be affected. You just came from the Sky Martial Continent. Your cultivation is not strong yet. We do not know what will happen when this turmoil breaks out. So for your safety, it's better not to leave the kingdom of ZU. For this period of time. Shenghua Meiyang nodded. I will listen to senior sister's instructions. Junior sister, there's no need to be so serious. Why are we two sisters being so polite? Let's go. You just came out of seclusion. Senior sister will bring you to try some of our kingdom of ZU's good wine. These are all incredible immortal wine. Drinking a mouthful will only be of great benefit to spirit cultivator. Ordinary people can't even drink it. So I got someone to get it for you. Senior sister, I'm not good at drinking. Shenghua Meiyang was in a difficult position. Hey, what's not good at drinking? With your cultivation level, are you afraid of getting drunk? If you can't stand the intensity of the immortal wine, just force it out. With that, Sun Xianyan pulled Shangwan Mei Yang's small hand and walked out. Senior sister. Wait. Senior sister. In front of the wine table. Gudong. Gudong. Gudong clang. The young girl slammed the wine jar on the table and laughed out loud. Ha ha! Good wine. Good wine. Senior sister, come. Let's get rid of this jar again, huh? Gulp, 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 junior sister. Slow down. Sun Xianyan wiped her sweat and looked at the young girl in front of her who was drinking from the wine jar. There were wolves in front and tigers behind. Su Yun, who was running for his life, tensed up. In short, he could not stop just like that. Although he did not know how strong the people in front of him were, they could not be compared to the pursuers behind him. The Supreme Expert's methods just now were shocking enough, and now that things had come to this, he had no other choice but to fight. Su Yun took a deep breath, took out his imperial equipment, and planned to cooperate with the clear sky holy robe to forcefully rush out of the crowd. Suddenly, a loud roar rang out from behind. This child holds a high-level imperial equipment, and where the clear sky holy robe, ordinary attacks were ineffective. You all first used the profound technique to shatter his imperial equipment, emptied his profound chi, and then used brute force or puppet equipment to forcefully intercept him. Faster! The loud shout came from the Supreme Expert. The voice was especially loud, like a heaven-shaking thunder. It spread in all directions for close to 1,000 miles. Upon hearing the voice, the spirit cultivator in front immediately reacted. Su Yun raised his head to look, only to see a flash of light in the sky. Following that, a large number of puppet equipment came out. There were wooden dragons, armored lions, and even giant elephants that were the size of small mountains. All of them had dense auras, and their cultivations were close to their masters. All of them were existences of the sky spirit master. So suddenly, countless profound technique smashed over. All of them were sword chi extremely sharp, and the moment the sword chi attacked, the puppet equipment also moved, attacking towards Su Yun. Not good. Su Yun's eyes revealed a cold intent. He activated the 7th tier Imperial equipment, raised the Imperial equipment's defense to the highest, and rushed forward. The sword chi smashed over. Bang, 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 bang. Streams of sword chi smashed onto the chi cover, releasing a terrifying explosion. The grayish-white circular barrier was shaken to the point that circles of ripples appeared. As the sword chi attacked, Su Yun felt his body becoming weaker and weaker, and the profound chi in his body was being consumed at an astonishing speed. This was not good. Su Yun's face changed. He looked over, only to see that the puppet equipment were already approaching. Although he had obtained the divine object, he could not fight against 10,000 enemies by himself. Furthermore, there were many existences stronger than him here. These people had obviously researched and prepared for the clear sky holy robe, so they naturally thought of a way to deal with it. Is there no other way? Su Yun exhaled and suddenly looked towards the 1,000-cloud sword mountain at the side. A trace of ruthlessness flashed past his eyes, and without thinking, he directly fell into the mountain. Chapter 727. Su Yun's actions shocked all the spirit cultivators that had rushed over. The spirit cultivator circled in front of the 1,000-cloud sword mountain, all of them stretching out their necks to look at the person who was falling towards the mountain, but no one dared to chase after him. Su Yun's speed was extremely fast. He stepped on his flying sword and crashed into the mountain. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the mountain. This guy, he actually brought the clear sky holy robe into the 1,000-cloud sword mountain. Isn't this just courting death? Humph. He relied on the protection of the clear sky holy robe and was not afraid of the evil chi and sword chi in the mountain, which was why he fearlessly rushed inside. However, the clear sky holy robe is a magic treasure after all. It cannot protect him for a lifetime, and there is a limit to his divine power. If his divine power is exhausted and he does not have time to recover, he will still die inside. If he dies inside, Wouldn't that mean that the clear sky holy robe can't be taken out? What are you worried about? How could he not know that his divine power had disappeared? Without his divine power, he would definitely die. I expect that he will come out sooner or later. Everyone, we will guard the surroundings of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain and surround the mountain. When he runs out of divine power, he will come out himself. All right, the spirit cultivator shouted, and then dispersed. Now that the clear sky holy robe had been taken away by Su Yun, with how big the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain was, one person would definitely not be able to catch up to Su Yun. Only by capturing Su Yun would they be able to think of a way to take the clear sky holy robe for their own use. The outside of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain was surrounded by a dense group of spirit cultivator. There were tens of thousands of them, and these people had even called for more relatives and friends to help them. Other than that, there were also many rogue cultivators that came after hearing the news. For a time, the outside of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain was filled with a black mass, and Su Yun was like a turtle in a jar, unable to escape even if he had wings. Bang! A muffled sound came out from the middle of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, followed by a cloud of dust. A person slowly crawled out from the huge pit that had been smashed into the ground. Cough, cough. Su Yun coughed twice. He felt his entire body aching. It was extremely uncomfortable. He stood up and looked around, only to see that he was surrounded by desolate rocks. There was almost no path. The air was filled with a terrifying evil chi, and there was a large amount of sword chi that was like the wind blowing against the mountain. If not for the protection of the clear sky holy robe on his body, Su Yun would have long since become dregs. Is this the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain? I'm afraid that even if the Spirit Emperor is here, he will fall in a few seconds, right? Su Yun muttered. Endless evil aura and terrifying sword chi rippled around his body, but the clear sky holy robe gave Su Yun a vacuum zone. No matter how terrifying the chi was, it could not touch his body, but Su Yun could still clearly feel that the god power on the clear sky holy robe was slowly weakening. Although the consumption was very slow, it was still not enough, and sooner or later, it would all be used up. We have to get out of here. He looked out of the mountain and saw the densely packed spirit cultivator-s. They had already surrounded him in 3 layers and 3 layers. He anxiously turned around, climbed over the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, and ran towards the other side of the mountain, in the direction of Jianxi. However, to his disappointment, that side was also filled with a large number of spirit cultivator, and the number of people was abnormally large, more than twice the number of people in other places. Looking at the formation, it was as if they were trying to prevent Su Yun from leaving from Jianxi, so they increased their defensive strength. Chirp, 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 chirp. Suddenly, a large amount of sword chi shot over from all directions, directly attacking the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain. Hundreds of thousands of them, like a curtain of light, shot over. Boom, 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 boom. A loud sound came out. The entire mountain shook. Su Yun was secretly shocked. He immediately turned and hid in a cave. A round of sword chi attacked, and the entire mountain was riddled with holes. It was a complete mess, and dust filled the air. It was as if a fist had punched a powder bag. When the dust settled, Su Yun stuck his head out, only to see that the cave that was protecting him had been blasted open, and the terrifying sword chi was still tearing apart the other soil, like the sharp teeth of a demon. Are they going to kill me? If I die here, the clear sky holy robe won't be able to leave. Other than those with sacred arts, without the clear sky holy robe, it would be impossible for them to enter this place. But if they didn't want to kill me, then what were they doing? Su Yun was slightly suspicious, but he quickly understood. The goal of these sword chi was not to kill him, but to consume his profound chi and the divine power of the clear sky holy robe. The goal was to force him out quickly. Friend with the clear sky holy robe. At this moment, another deep shout came from outside the mountain. Hearing this voice, it was the supreme expert. You are already surrounded if you know what's good for you. Then bring the clear sky holy robe out. I guarantee that as long as you hand over the clear sky holy robe, we will definitely not kill you. The clear sky holy robe is the possession of the mighty Sword Valley's Valley Master. This item should not be obtained by you. If you return this item to its original owner, then all of your crimes will be absolved. We will definitely not harm you in the slightest. His voice was very loud, and everyone heard it. However, many people snickered secretly. He was simply fooling people. At this point, why are you still pretending? Which one of them didn't come here for the clear sky holy robe? If you want it, then come in and take it. Suyin shouted. As soon as these words fell, the supreme expert lost face. Although everyone knew what was going on, they had a tacit understanding. The supreme expert still refused to give up and continued to shout, "Fellow swordsmen, you know the situation of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain. Just relying on the clear sky holy robe will not be able to protect you for the rest of your life. When its divine power is exhausted, you will only be devoured by the sword chi that fills the mountain, and your soul will not be able to escape from this terrifying mountain. You can only die. Let me ask you, friend, a dead man, why are you still guarding this divine object?" The supreme expert could not use force to make Su Yun submit, so he began to attack him with his mind. Of course, Su Yun understood. He also knew this logic. If he was really going to be devoured by the sword chi and the evil chi, he would hand over the clear sky holy robe without hesitation. However, there was still time, so there was no need to be in such a hurry. The supreme expert shouted for a while, but there was no sound coming from the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, which made him rather impatient. "Sir, I think it's better not to waste your breath. How could this person hand over such a divine object so easily? In my opinion, we should use our sword chi together and force him out." One of them said, "That's right. The clear sky holy robe can protect him from death. He must still be thinking of a way to escape. How can we hand it over so obediently? If we don't exhaust all of the clear sky holy robe's divine power, we definitely won't be able to make him submit. Yes, everyone, don't hesitate. Make your move." A female spirit cultivator raised her arms and shouted. The surrounding spirit cultivator immediately responded. The cold swords that filled the sky were pulled out and aimed at the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, and a burst of sword chi smashed towards the mountain like raindrops. The mountain shook crazily. Rocks flew everywhere, as though the mountain was about to be smashed into smithereens by the sword chi. It was only then that he realized, because of the sound just now, he had already been fixed by the spirit cultivator outside the mountain, and their sword chi was mainly concentrated on him. Although the clear sky holy robe was a divine object, there were probably hundreds of thousands of spirit cultivator outside the mountain attacking him together, and there were at least 100 spirit emperors. With such a terrifying attack, the consumption of god power and profound strength was naturally very fast. The surface of the entire mountain was blasted into sand. This was because the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain had absorbed most of the spirit energy from the dead spirit cultivator, which was why it had become abnormally hard. If it was an ordinary mountain, it would have been flattened long ago. With such a concentrated attack, there was no place to hide. He looked left and right. Some of the large rocks that could protect him could not hold on for long before they were shattered. There was no other way. He took a deep breath and sat down cross-legged. He took out a pill from a space bag and placed it in his mouth. At this point, he could only rely on meditation to recover the profound strength. He did not know if the divine power could be recovered through other channels. Although the divine power of the clear sky holy robe could recover on its own, Su Yun could not sense the source of the divine power. In the end, it was a divine object, and the secrets within it might not be known by the current Su Yun. The bombardment was still going on outside the mountain. The spirit cultivators seemed to be tireless as they attacked crazily. The Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain became smaller once again. Just like that, it lasted for 2 whole days. The mountain became smaller and smaller, and the sky that Su Yun could see became smaller and smaller. Outside the mountain, there was a dense mass of people. The sky was filled with them, like a human wall, completely surrounding the mountain. More and more people were rushing over. Moreover, the number of people was still increasing. The temptation of the clear sky holy robe was not small. The people from the venerable Sword Valley had all arrived. Su Yin opened his eyes and recovered from his meditation. He looked at the crowd, a trace of helplessness in his eyes. Although meditating could recover the profound strength, but the main thing that was being consumed was the God power, and the recovery of the profound strength was useless. Facing the hundreds of thousands, or even close to 1 million spirit cultivator, relying on the profound strength to support the 7th-tier Imperial equipment was definitely not enough to defend. This time it was difficult. Su Yin laughed bitterly. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He slapped his thigh and hurriedly took out an order badge from his waist. Demon Lord token. He wanted to see if he could ask for help. Didn't the people of the true devil sect grasp the profound technique that could tear through the void? Perhaps this was a way to help him leave. Su Yin was overjoyed and anxiously activated the order badge. However, the moment the order badge was activated, he could not feel any chi from the 8 teeth. Su Yin was startled. He immediately injected his own chi into it, but after a while, there was no reply. What was going on? Suddenly, a terrifying heat came from outside the mountain. Su Yun's face changed. He anxiously stood up and looked into the distance. A large number of spirit cultivator-s from the south side of the mountain quickly dispersed, as though they were hiding from something. Following that, a fireball the size of the 1,000-cloud sword mountain floated over. The fireball flew extremely slowly, but its enormous size and scorching temperature gave people a feeling of despair that they couldn't escape from. Such a move that seemed to be able to destroy the world could only be used by existences above the Spirit Emperor. Su Yin was silent. Su Yin, coming quickly. Right at this critical moment, a voice suddenly sounded out. Chapter 728. This voice, Qingyu. Su Yin suddenly turned his head and looked at the sword sheath on his body. Hurry up and come in. Stop talking nonsense. Ling Qingyu's anxious voice came out again. Hearing that, Su Yin hesitated. Qingyu, do you want me to enter the sword sheath? Although this method is good, if I were to enter the sword sheath would no longer have the protection of the clear sky holy robe and would probably be destroyed by the sword chi and the attacks of the spirit cultivator. What time is it? You're still thinking about this? Furthermore, this sword sheath is not an ordinary sword sheath. It cannot be easily destroyed. If you don't come in, you're going to die here. Ling Qingyu said anxiously. However, Su Yin still did not enter the limitless sword sheath. Although he knew that the limitless sword sheath was extremely powerful, he did not want to use it as a bet. It had to be known that the number of spirit cultivator outside was too terrifying. Adding the special circumstances of the 1,000-cloud sword mountain, the limitless sword sheath might not be able to withstand it. He stood up, thought for a moment, then suddenly twisted his body and went into a pitch-black cave at the side. After entering the cave, although he was still enduring the corrosion of the 1,000-cloud, sword mountains, sword chi, and evil chi, he had at least dodged the attacks of a spirit cultivator. Boom! A sky-splitting sound rang out. Countless streams of lava smashed onto the mountain, dyeing the entire mountain red. A small amount of magma surged in from the cave entrance and pounced towards Su Yin, but it was all purified by the clear sky holy robe. The cave entrance was covered in magma and gradually collapsed. Seeing that, Su Yin anxiously ran into the cave. However, what was unexpected was that the cave was extremely deep. After running for a while, he still could not see the top of the cave. This was a temporary refuge. Slowly, the magma could no longer be seen, and Su Yin seemed to have already gone more than 100 meters into the cave. Is this the cave they blasted out? Su Yin looked at the cracks on the wall and the large rocks that had collapsed to the left and right, and thought. The cave was sometimes wide, sometimes narrow, making people feel uncomfortable. However, the stones of the 1,000-cloud sword mountain were so hard that the cave gave him a place to hide. Hiding place? A thought suddenly flashed through Su Yun's mind. The entire 1,000-cloud sword mountain was surrounded by them, and there were people on all sides of the mountain. There was nowhere to run, but wasn't there a path at the bottom of the mountain? Perhaps he could use his Xian Qi to blast open a path to the bottom of the mountain and escape. The sword Qi here was so dense, and with the spirit cultivator outside the mountain, it was impossible for them to track his existence with just their chi. Although the rocks of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain were extremely hard, with these divine swords, it would definitely not be too difficult to cut them open. Thinking of this, Su Yun did not hesitate, and immediately ran towards the end of the cave. When he got close to the collapsing rocks, he would brandish the death sword and chop it into pieces. If there was no way out, he would forcefully shake it off. In the end, the clear sky holy robe was a divine robe. Just by relying on the evil sword chi of the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, it would take several months to exhaust all of its divine power. Time was enough. Dong, dong, dong. Su Yun thrust his sword forward and punched his fist forward. It was extremely tyrannical. Usually, a large rock could be broken by 2 swords, and a barren wall required 3 punches to break. But in this way, the consumption of profound energy was even greater. After a day, he had only walked a distance of less than 1,000 meters. Previously, when Su Yun had entered the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, he had roughly looked around. He had landed halfway up the mountain, and the mountain was 10,000 meters tall. Right now, he estimated that he was still 4,000 meters away from the bottom of the mountain. But if he wanted to hide from the eyes and ears of the spirit cultivator outside, he would have to dig to a depth of at least 8,000 meters before he could escape. After leaving the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain, his own chi was not concealed by the evil chi in the mountain, so the Spirit Emperor would probably sense it. After swallowing a pill and adjusting his breathing for a moment, he continued to move forward. Clang! At this moment, a strange sound suddenly rang out. It seemed as if something had fallen, creating waves of echoes. Su Yun was startled for a moment. He anxiously used all of his strength and increased his speed of digging. However, not long after, a corpse was exposed from the wall. The corpse had already rotted away, leaving behind only a layer of minced meat and pitch-black bones. It looked extremely cautious, but in this kind of place, the corpse was still preserved so completely. It was enough to show that the corpse was a spirit cultivator with a high cultivation. Su Yun pulled out the death sword, carefully pried open the wall, and the corpse fell down. However, just as the corpse fell, a rotten stench suddenly filled the air. Following that, the entire wall in front of him split open. The gigantic Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain violently shook for a few seconds, and countless rotting corpses fell down one after another. It was like a tide of corpses pouring out. The scene was extremely horrifying. Su Yun anxiously retreated. The corpses were still falling. The broken wall was like a sandbag with a hole in it. In the blink of an eye, a large number of corpses filled the pitch-black cave. Mother of Asterisk-Cur. Su Yun sat in front of the corpses, completely speechless. It wasn't easy for him to open the underground tunnel, but these corpses were once again filled with corpses. These corpses had not rotted for so long, so their strength was probably not low. Furthermore, from the looks of it, there were probably a lot of corpses in front of them. Su Yun sighed. He shook his head helplessly. He could only continue to urge his chi to blast the corpses away and move forward. He raised his sword and unleashed the Demon Windbreak technique towards the front. The Demon Tiger appeared and tore at the corpses, but when the Demon Tiger charged forward, it only shattered a few corpses at the front, and the ones at the back were not serious. From this attack, it could be seen that the corpses were much stronger than the rock walls, and after the corpses shattered, the rotting smell became even stronger. There seemed to be a bit of corpse poison in the smell, and after inhaling too much, Su Yun felt dizzy and uncomfortable. However, Su Yun would not be poisoned because of this, and this feeling would only last for a while. The clear sky holy robe perfectly protected him from the corrosion of the poison gas, and this kind of poison gas, even if the existence of the Spirit Emperor were to smell it, he would still faint on the spot. Swish, swish. At this moment, a strange sound rang out again, followed by a dense poisonous gas. Su Yun was shocked. He took out his imperial equipment and blocked it together with the clear sky holy robe. The poisonous gas followed the black hole and spread out of the cave. When he looked again, he discovered that the poisonous gas was actually drifting out from the rotting corpses. These corpses were weathering at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the poisonous gas was the product of their weathering. In less than half an incense stick of time, all the exposed corpses had been completely eroded, and the road in front of him was normal once again. Su Yun looked forward and saw that the corpses at the entrance of the hole were also affected by the weathering, but the degree of weathering was not considered serious. He pondered for a moment, then walked over and dragged a corpse out, throwing it at the entrance of the cave. Chi 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 chi. A strange sound rang out again, and the corpse instantly turned into sand. Its speed was several times faster than before. These corpses are isolated by the mountain rocks and will not be affected by the sword chi and evil chi. As a result, the speed at which the corpses decay is very slow. Now that I have opened these mountain rocks, the sword chi and evil chi will fill the air, and they will immediately be weathered away. Su Yun muttered. He immediately activated his strength and dragged all the corpses out of the hole and threw them into the hole. Chi 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 chi. The strange sounds continued to ring out, and the corpse poison chi spread out even more crazily. It was so dense that it seemed like water was about to drip out. Su Yun stared at the fishy stench and continued to move the corpses. Many of the corpses were wearing equipment, but most of them had been rusted over the years, rotten and broken, and could not be used. Su Yun dug one by one, but the more he dug, the more corpses he dug, the more they were endless. And as he went deeper, the corpses that appeared also started to become more miserable. Some had their heads broken, some were chopped in half, and some had no limbs at all. Were these the spirit cultivator who died in the war? Why were there so many of them? Moreover, why were their corpses piled up together? Su Yun could not help but speed up his movements. This layer of the mountain seemed to be completely filled with corpses, and as the corpses were continuously moved out, a strange passage appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. Could there be another world here? Su Yun opened his eyes wide as he looked at the pitch-black vault with the scattered corpses. The corpses were removed one by one, and Su Yun also went deeper step by step. Finally, after going down for nearly 3,000 meters, the vault suddenly opened up. An incomparably huge heavenly passage appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. This place was incomparably wide, and the distance between the top and bottom was close to 5,000. It was unknown where in the Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain was, but what was terrifying was that the heavenly passage was filled with corpses. The corpses were piled up like a mountain, and the walls of the cave were also filled with corpses. They were like murals, causing one's scalp to go numb. It would not be an exaggeration to say that this was the underworld. Su Yun looked at the walls where the corpses were hanging, thought for a while, then jumped out of the hole, entered the heavenly passage, and slashed at a wall. Bang! The rocks on that side immediately collapsed, and a large number of corpses flowed out from the wall. These corpses were even more rotten, and they emitted a dense corpse poison. Seeing this scene, Su Yun completely understood. How could this Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain still be a mountain? It had long since become a complete cemetery. The interior of the mountain was filled with the corpses of the spirit cultivator. They were probably the people who had died in that great battle. Su Yun, why did you come to such a place? Disgusting. Just then, Ling Qingyu's voice came out from the limitless sword sheath again. There's no other way out now. Su Yun sighed, feeling extremely helpless. The aura here was too complicated. Ling Qingyu did not dare to come out. Su Yun removed the profound strength and descended, stepping on the mountain of corpses. Just as he went up, the mountain of corpses shook a little, and even more corpse poison filled the heavenly passage. Su Yun frowned. Although the corpse poison was not as terrifying as the hundreds of thousands of spirit cultivators outside, it was not light either. Staying here, the consumption of the clear sky holy robe's divine power was not small. He couldn't waste any time. He had to open the tunnel and leave this place as soon as possible. After identifying the direction, he began to work. Chapter 729. The corpses were moved away one by one. They dug down for a few hundred meters, but there was still no soil. From the looks of it, there were probably tens of thousands of corpses here. Suddenly, A blood-red light seeped out from the gap between the corpses. Su Yun was startled. It shouldn't be. The corpses here were all dried-up corpses. Could it be that there was still blood? Su Yun immediately dug down a few times and saw an extremely complete head appearing in his line of sight. He anxiously dug for a while more before finally seeing everything clearly. It turned out that at the bottom of these dried-up corpses, there were two well-preserved spirit cultivator corpses. The two of them stood facing each other. They were no longer alive, and their souls had disappeared. The two of them were covered in wounds, but there were no signs of decay. One of them was wearing green armor. The armor was broken, and the dark green cloak behind him was stained with blood. He held a broadsword in his hand, and the blade of the broadsword pierced towards the chest of the other person. The other person was dressed in a long blue robe and had a blue jade crown inlaid with gems on his head. His face was like jade, and he was extremely handsome. However, at this moment, his body was also covered with swords. Similarly, he also had a sword in his hand. It was slender and lustrous, and the body of the sword shone with a red light. The light from before was precisely this sword light. At this moment, the body of the sword pierced through the throat of the other party. The two of them were already dead, but they still maintained their posture before they died. They stood there like two statues. Even though their bodies were filled with corpses, they were still unable to crush them. Even if the cultivation of these two are not at the spirit sage, I'm afraid they are about the same. For their corpses to not rot in this kind of place, it can be seen how powerful their bodies are. Su Yun, I guess that these two are the leaders of that earth-shattering battle. Ling Qingyu's voice came out. Su Yun nodded his head and looked at the two of them. You are right. Furthermore, their cultivation must be at the spirit sage. This kind of place is not something the spirit emperor can handle. Su Yun, quick, take all their treasures. Such a strong expert. The magic tools they have must be extremely useful treasures. Ling Qingyu said excitedly. Hearing that, Su Yun did not stand on ceremony and directly touched the space bag on the waist of the two corpses. Now that he had nowhere to go, he wanted to see how the two saints' treasures were. Maybe they would have an unexpected treasure to help Su Yun escape from this dangerous situation. After taking the space bag, Su Yun naturally would not let go of the swords in their hands. How could the grade of the weapon used by the spirit sage be bad? However, when he wanted to let go of the two's hands, he found that they were holding on tightly, and it was extremely difficult to open. When he used all his strength to pry the sword from their hands, the moment the sword left their hands, it instantly turned into scrap metal and broke on its own. Seeing this, Su Yun was stunned. I see. Ling Qingyu sighed. You know what's going on? Can't you tell? These two swords have long since fused with the two saints. There is already a sword in the man and a person in the sword. In fact, after the two saints died, the two swords also died. The reason why they look fine on the outside is only because of the influence of the two saints' physical bodies. Now that you have removed them, the swords have left their hands, so naturally they're useless. Hearing that, Su Yun was suddenly enlightened, but was also extremely regretful. So that's how it is. After that, he opened the space bag of the two saints. There weren't many treasures in the bag. Many of them were empty shells that had already been used, and the treasures left behind weren't anything earth-shattering. Both sides were fighting fiercely, and had already fought to such an extent. The treasures at the bottom of the box would definitely be used. How could they leave it for Su Yun? What is this? Su Yun took out a strange stone sculpture that was shaped like a lotus flower from the space bag. The lotus stone was very mystical. Holding in his hand, it made one's state of mind inexplicably calm down. Its surface overflowed with a faint light, flickering like a candle in the wind, but did not give off the feeling that it was about to die. Like a material? There were too few magic treasures in the space bag. There were not many that were suitable for Su Yun to use, but there were still some materials. It's actually this treasure. When Su Yun took out the lotus stone, Ling Qingyu actually let out a shocked cry. Oh, Qingyu, you know him again? Su Yun was suspicious. This Ling Qing, you could be considered to be experienced and knowledgeable. Ling Qingyu hesitated for a moment, then said, Actually, I'm not sure if this is that divine object, but looking at its shape and aura, it's extremely similar to a divine object I've heard of before. You heard it? Where did you hear it from? My master. Even if I told you, you wouldn't know. Ling Qing, you said. Su Yin, put this thing down, and then put spirit life qi on each of its petals. No problem. Su Yin nodded, then activated the monarch occult force, changing his spirit qi into one that he was familiar with, then extended his finger and pointed at them one by one. When the last petal was infused with the spirit life qi, the lotus stone immediately blossomed with a dense green light. The light was extremely mysterious. It actually dispersed the corpse poison in the surroundings like a blooming lotus, causing people to be intoxicated. Seeing that, Ling Qingyu's voice became excited. That's right. That's right. It's just as Master said. This is definitely a natural green lotus. Natural green lotus? What a strange name. What is it? A magic treasure? Su Yin touched the lotus stone and asked in confusion. It can't be considered a magic treasure. Strictly speaking, it should be a material. Material? What material? A type of material used to fuse magic treasures. Ling Qingyu said patiently. This material is not used to forge treasures, but to fuse. It is said that it can use the sealed power inside to fuse two completely different magic treasures into an even more powerful divine object. After the fusion, not only does the divine object possess all the characteristics of the magic treasure before the fusion, it can also reconstruct new functions. The natural green lotus is extremely rare. It is refined from the 10,000-year lotus and nature's essence for 10,000 years, and I'm afraid there are only a few of them in the entire universe. Let me tell you, a portion of the powerful divine objects in the hands of the immortals are produced by this natural green lotus. They put two incredible treasures together and fuse them with the natural green lotus, producing an unprecedented divine object. This kind of divine object cannot be forged and can only be produced through this very special method. Hearing that, Su Yun was shocked and sighed. This treasure can actually fuse into a divine object. Don't be happy too early. It's also possible for the fusion to fail. Once it fails, all the treasures will turn into bubbles and disappear. Su Yun's heart skipped a beat. Is the chance of failure high? Half and half. Then isn't this thing useless? If you want to obtain treasures, there will always be risks. If the chances are not half, do you think you will be able to obtain this natural green lotus? I'm afraid this saint has already used it up. That's true. Su Yin kept the natural green lotus. This kind of treasure should be used in the future. What he needed to do now was to leave this place as soon as possible. There was nothing else in the space bag that Su Yin could use, but it was still worth some money, so he kept it and continued to work. Bang! Just then, the entire 1,000-cloud sword mountain shook violently once again. Following that, a large number of cracks appeared on the walls inside, and the rubble and corpses on the walls all fell down. Su Yin was startled. He looked around. Those people are still blasting the mountain. It seems like they won't stop until they force you out. Ling Qing, you said worriedly. Hearing that, Su Yun's face turned ugly. This is going to be troublesome. After all, the 1,000-cloud sword mountain is a mountain, not a magic treasure. How can they withstand such an attack? I predict that in 2 days, this place will collapse. Then what should we do? Can you dig it out in 2 days? Difficult, Su Yin said. The mountain was so unstable. Even if a tunnel was dug out, it would be buried by the falling rocks. As time passed, the spirit cultivator outside the mountain would only gather more and more. Doesn't that mean I'm going to die here? Ling Qingyu exclaimed. Don't worry, Qingyu. Su Yun smiled slightly. Even if I die, I will protect you. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu was silent for a moment. Then, with a weak voice, she stammered, Who wants you to protect me? Humph. Do you really think you're that powerful? Bang! Another loud sound rang out. The mountain shook again. The cracks on the wall grew bigger and bigger, and the corpses inside the mountain wall surged out again, falling down. In the blink of an eye, they filled up the hole that Su Yun had dug. Seeing that, Su Yun's face became gloomy. These corpses were a problem, and the heavenly passage was also a problem. If this situation continued, digging it out would be a fantasy. If he couldn't dig it out, did he have to wait for death here? Tap! Just then, Su Yun took out the natural green lotus and placed it on the ground. Seeing that, Ling Qingyu was curious. What are you doing? Let's take a gamble. Su Yun's face darkened. Gamble? Ling Qingyu was startled. However, he saw Su Yun take out an exquisite flag. You want to use the natural green lotus? She was shocked. Are you going to melt the 7th tier imperial equipment? This kind of imperial equipment is comparable to a divine object. Even if you don't fuse with it, it is still an extremely practical, life-saving treasure. Why don't you keep it? Its defense is indeed very strong. I obtained this treasure by chance, and it has saved my life countless times over the years. Although I don't want to fuse with it at this point, if I don't do this, I'm afraid I won't even have my life. Su Yun said solemnly. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu did not speak for a few breaths, then said, Fusion requires 2 magic treasure. Then what magic treasure do you plan to fuse with it? He lowered his head to look at his own body and said solemnly, Clear sky, holy robe. Clear sky, holy robe. Ling Qingyu was completely stunned. This clear sky, holy robe was a divine object in itself. If he were to fuse with the 7th tier imperial equipment, this defensive, pseudo-divine object, how terrifying would it be? Just thinking about it made one look forward to it. However, there was a chance of using the natural green lotus to fuse with it. If he failed and lost the protection of the clear sky, holy robe, Su Yun would definitely die. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.